Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works for Friday, February 26, 2021. I'm Greg Good. I'm President of the Board of Public Works. Good afternoon, Dr. Campos.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Roll call and establishing quorum for today. We have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, and Commissioners Caloza and Villegas. President Good, you do have a quorum at this time. For the record, we have Commissioner Caloza and President Good that are dialing in remotely from their City Hall office, and all other commissioners, Garcia, Villegas, and Davis, are dialing in remotely from home. I am dialing in remotely from my City Hall office here, and we're also joined by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, who's dialing in remotely from home. Mr. President, again, you do have quorum at this time. Currently, we do have 5 callers on the line under general public comment. We also received one commentary from the Northridge South Neighborhood Council under the Neighborhood Council commentary on item number 3, and they are for the item. In addition to that, Mr. President, we did receive 3 Google comments that are that have been distributed to all commissioners under general public comment. We also received 5 emails, which have been distributed to all commissioners on item number 3. In addition to that, we received 2 Google comments and 1 letter on item number 3 that has been distributed to all commissioners. Again, in total, we have 8 commentary on item number 3 that was received electronically. In addition to that, we did receive 1 Google comment on item 2 and 1 Google comment on item number 5 that has been distributed to all commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campos. Let's go ahead and open up the general public comment group right now, as well as I guess we have the Neighborhood Council. That's a Google form. So why don't we go ahead and start with the general public comment, Dr. Campos?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the general public, the Board of Public Works is now considering public comments on any of the items that are not posted on the agenda for today. We have 5 callers that have raised their hands. We're going to go ahead and start with the first caller. Caller ending in 539. Caller ending in 539. If you can please press star 6 at this time to unmute your microphone. Please state your name, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. Once again, caller ending in 539, caller ending in 539. If you can please press star 6 at this time to unmute your microphone. Please state your name. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment.
Hello, is that me?
No, that's not you.
Sorry.
I'll get to you. This is caller ending in 539. Last call for caller ending in 539. If you can please press star 6 to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. Great. Hearing no response from caller 539, I will go ahead and lower their hand. We'll move on to the next caller. Caller ending in 307. Caller ending in 307. If you can please press star 6 at this time to unmute your microphone. Please state your name, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Simboya Wright. Good afternoon. My name is Simboya Wright, and I'm an executive board member of SEIU Local 721. I've been a wastewater collection worker with the City of Los Angeles since 2001. Today's board motion is a tremendous move for Black families in the city and families of color. As a labor union, we know that racial justice and economic justice go hand in hand. SEIU represents almost 11,000 workers in the city of Los Angeles. We know how much a difference it has access to good jobs, unionized, and making a difference in LA's marginalized communities. It is definitely a game changer. Historically, city jobs have served as a gateway to middle class to disadvantaged communities. This opportunity that changed lives for generations to come. That's why our union, working with labor and community allies, have been at the forefront to establish a program and policies for recruiting, hiring, and training new generations of public servants. We are we have all read the national and local headlines the past year. Black and brown families have been disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. We've seen job cuts, pay cuts, and cuts of short lives due to this virus. Many families have yet to recover from the Great Recession, and we know we cannot allow COVID
2 minutes.
to begin. So I'm just proud to be a part of this solution with the Board of Public Works and look forward to continue to work so we can get these jobs done. Thank you.
Thank you, Simba.
Great. We'll move on to the next caller. Caller ending in 682. Caller ending in 682. Can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? Please state your name and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment.
Hello, this is Dr. Tom Williams from LA 32 and Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community. Basically, for the public comment, I would like to pass along a complaint by one of our stakeholders in southeastern El Sereno that they have more than 10 streetlights out. These are the old streetlights on the pedestals. And they have complained for over a week, and nothing is being done. I confirmed last night, I think they have like 15 streetlights out. Along one street, Haven, they have at least 6 that are out, and along Chester and Vaqueros, they have other lights out. So we really need to get those changed over, or is it going to be a matter that you have to redo all of the old street lights in that area and convert them to the newer forms with the arches? So we're getting complaints from our stakeholders, and I'm passing them along to you. That's all. I would like to speak on item 12 too, but anyway.
Fernando?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'll go ahead and add you to the list for item 12.
Fernando?
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry for speaking out of line here, President Good. Is there any way for us to get the either the addresses or Dr. Williams just gave us streets. Is there any locations specific that he can give us so that we can get back to him?
Commissioner Villegas, we can reach out to Dr. Williams offline. There is no commentary or no dialogue during general public comment from the commissioners.
I will present them on Monday morning sharp by email. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Okay.
Oh.
So we will no longer follow up with them. Okay. Moving on, I know this person has been patient with us. Call-in user _1. Call-in user _1. Your microphone is unmuted at this time. It looks like a tablet or a smartphone device. Can you please state your name? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. This is the gentleman that came on about 6 minutes ago.
Okay, that would be me.
That would be you. Thank you.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. This is General Jeff with the general public comment. I am a Skid Row community activist, chair of the Skid Row Neighborhood Council Formation Committee, chair of the spokesperson for the Skid Row Advisory Council, and chair of the newly convened Skid Row Parks Park Advisory Board. Last Friday, a week ago from today, Friday, February 19th, I sent an email to a few members of the board, of this very board, with a request from our community to officially remove a city-owned dumpster that's placed right on the sidewalk on the northeast corner of 5th and San Pedro Streets. It is an eyesore. It aids in a criminal activity. Also, in the thread of an email, I spoke with Captain Harrelson, the captain of Central Division LAPD, and spoken on behalf of the department, who was also in agreement that that dumpster needs to be moved. And so I'm speaking before this board now with another official request to have that dumpster removed. Thank you.
Thank you. We have two more callers on the line under general public comment. We'll move on to the next caller. Caller ending in 631. Caller ending in 631. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment. Please start by providing your name first. Thanks.
Yes. This is Joanne D'Antonio. I'm on CFAC. CFAC representatives, like myself, are appointed by City Council to advise on the urban forest. We are often the recipients of the angry letters from the public who see our diminishing urban forest, especially private property significant trees. Yesterday, City Forest Officer Rachel Mallerich said that we are 3 years away from an urban forestry management plan. We really have to do something sooner. We will lose a lot of trees in those years and watch the smog and heat grow. I witnessed people moving away, and new residents who come here see economic opportunity but are not savvy about the long-term consequences of overdevelopment and trees relegated to consideration last. If you have the ear of those who can, in practice, prioritize trees as they do in Pasadena and not just pay lip service to green ideas and check boxes, then please talk to them and help us make real change. Are we that desperate that we have to chop down everything? You only see the cases at Board of Public Works for 3 or more street trees and trees designated as protected. But thousands of large trees are routinely cut down both legally and illegally. Stakeholders are literally screaming on next door about the massive eucalyptus trees recently cut down at the Sunkist building and the 200 trees removed at the Sportsman's Lodge for a renovation, both in Sherman Oaks and very close to each other. When complaints come to me, I'm a volunteer who can only tell people, sorry, there is really no legal acknowledgement in Los Angeles of the value of mature trees. This is becoming no city for old trees. I share this with you because you are our Public Works Commissioners, and the health of the community depends on your
2
influence.
minutes.
Thank you. I also have a comment on number 3.
Great. Thank you, Joanne. We have one last caller under general public comment. Caller ending in 890. Caller ending in 890. Can you please unmute your microphone at this time by pressing *6? Please state your name and which item. Please state your name and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on under general public comment. Again, caller ending in 890. Caller ending in 890. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak under general public comment.
Hi, Fernando. I apologize. I was calling to comment on item number 3.
Okay.
So I'll wait until then. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go ahead and note that on my end. Thank you. Mr. President, that does clear out the queue for general public comment for today's agenda.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That brings us, let's go to item. First off, I want to give everybody a heads up. This agenda, we are going to be moving some items around. I need everybody to be patient. It's a very full agenda. So please be patient. We will start off right now with item number 1, which is approval of the minutes from Tuesday, February 16th, 2021. Do I have a second to my motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections, concerns or epiphanies? Commissioner Villegas, Calosa?
None.
Vice President Garcia? Okay. Hearing no objections, the minutes from Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 are approved and adopted forthwith.
Mr. President, there's also been a request to continue item number 5 and 13 if you'd like to get those through the board. Item number 5, a continuation for 2 weeks to Friday, March the 12th. We are working with the Bureau to clear out some stop notices, and we'd like to continue that for 2 weeks. And then item number 13, a continuation for 1 week to Friday, March the 5th.
I have no objections, concerns with this. Go ahead and continue with item 5. And then, Dr. Davis, are you comfortable with continuing item 13? Is that?
Yes, sir. That would be great to do it till next Friday.
Okay, great. So, Dr. Campos, let's continue item 5 for, let's say, 2 weeks. And then.
Correct, March 12th.
Yes. And then we'll go ahead and continue item 13 to next Friday, which is, help me, March 5th. March 5th, okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So let's start off next with item number 7. I believe, Dr. Campos, that we have a number of callers specifically or to give comment on this item. Can we go ahead and start with that? You're on mute, Fernando. Oh, sorry. You're muted.
Thank you for that. Item number 7, I'm just going to go ahead and read it into the record, and then we'll go ahead and start with the callers. Item number 7 is the Career Pathways Workforce Equity Demonstration Project, recommending the board to request that the Board of Public Works President to report to the board with a recommended framework and action plan for the Department of Public Works Workforce Equity Demonstration Project after seeking input from entities the President deems appropriate, which may include, for example, senior representatives from the Department of Personnel, Economic and Workforce Development, Office of the Mayor, Office of the City Council, President or designee, as well as bureaus within the Department of Public Works or other Board of Public Works offices, and vital community stakeholders such as the Los Angeles Black Workers Center, Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and the City Coalition of Unions. And 2, move that the Board of Public Works take this workforce racial equity demonstration project under consideration as a portable plan. The city's current financial crisis, the attendant hiring freeze may preclude immediate implementation. Mr. President, we'll go ahead and take the calls at this time. We do have a couple of callers that would like to speak on this item. We'll start off with Mr. Rob Nordhoff, caller ending in 541. If you can please press *6 at this time, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Great, thank you. And good evening, President Good and members of the board. My name is Rob Nothoff, Policy Director with the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. And I'd like to thank the board's leadership in bringing forth item 7, the Workforce Equity Demonstration Project, which is a program that meets our current moment and is long overdue. If passed, this will mark a historic step in the city's continued fight toward a more equitable city, and will leverage the power of our local government to address some of the more glaring issues of our day, those being Black equity and economic inclusion. Economic justice has always been a civil rights issue, and the pursuit of public sector jobs and pathways into them has always been a part of that struggle. It's a historic fact that unionized public sector unions have done more to create pathways out of poverty for Black families, and in that vein, this program has the real potential to build upon that proud tradition at a time when 83% of Black workers in California have filed for unemployment. That's why the LA Fed is proud to have helped form the 1,000 Strong Coalition, and why we are showing up with our Black sisters and brothers to ask you to vote yes on item 7. The time to act is now. Thank you.
You're on mute again, Fernando.
Darn it.
That never happens to you. I'm not sure what happened. What's going on?
I'm moving around a couple of monitors and my list and my iPad. I'm working with 3 screens here. We'll move on to the next caller. Ending in 617, Mr. Brian McNeil. Mr. McNeil, if you can press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm still going over my notes. Can I ask to speak last?
He'd like you to come back to him, Dr. Campos.
Yes.
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Janelle Bailey. Janelle.
Hello.
Please. There you go.
Hi, my name is Janelle Bailey, and I'm one of the 2 co-executive directors of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. I'm calling in today to voice my enthusiastic support for item 7. I believe it is a step in the right direction to achieve a vision of Los Angeles where all workers, including black workers, can thrive in an equitable economy that sustains and builds vibrant families and communities. As a previous speaker noted, we need to meet the current reality. Black Angelenos are facing 3 pandemics: the coronavirus, perpetual racism, and systemic unemployment. Compounded by a lack of resources, more than 83% of black workers in California have filed for unemployment since the pandemic began. And in some LA communities, black unemployment is triple that of white neighborhoods. We're in a crisis of outrageous consequences. So that's why I'm calling in with my enthusiastic support for item 7. The work group established by today's motion is a step in the right direction as we start to explore avenues that connect black workers to meaningful, life-giving, and community-sustaining careers in the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next caller, Mr. Simboa Wright, caller ending in 307, Simboa. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item.
I think Simboa spoke during general public comment. I'm not sure if he's, are you there, Mr. Wright?
He is still on the line. I see his call is unmuted, muted again. Simboa, there you go. Can you hear us?
Did you speak your piece, Simboa, or you have more to add?
He is trying to communicate with us, but we're not getting any audio, Simboa. Your microphone has been unmuted at this time.
Oh, 2021.
Happens to the best of us.
It happened, absolutely. Wish you were here, Simboa. Actually, I think you are, but
okay.
Let's move to the next caller and see if Mr. Wright is able to get that
going. Okay, perfect. We are expecting a caller by the name of Trina Trailer. Trina Trailer. You can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. No? Okay.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Trina?
Hello? Yes.
Please go ahead. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 7.
Okay. Hi, my name is Trina Trailer. I am a longtime member of the Los Angeles Black Workers Center. And black communities always bear the brunt of impact of social and economic disaster. More than 83% of black workers in California have filed for unemployment. Black workers are constantly one step away from instability, be it economically or socially. If we don't resolve the black job crisis, more black workers will succumb to the pandemic, leaving families without resources and without hope. Without equitable access to labor resources, it will take black workers decades to recover from the pandemic, and we haven't healed ever from the Great Recession yet. As black Angelenos working to provide for family, I have struggled to make ends meet. I have to work 3 jobs just to make a living. That's ridiculous. Everybody on this line knows that the pathway to a middle class is through public sector jobs. We need these jobs to heal our community, and this will change the game for black workers in Los Angeles. Everybody is saying that they're committed to change for black people. in Los Angeles, but nobody is showing up for us. It's time that you guys show up for us. We need this so we can establish a black middle class in Los Angeles like we used to have in the 70s. Thank you for listening to me and taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. We'll move on to the next caller, Robert Hernandez. Robert Hernandez, if you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item. Robert? Robert Hernandez? Last call for Robert Hernandez. If you can please press *6 to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 7. No response. We'll move on to Veronica Sands. Veronica Sands. You can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 7. Veronica Sands, last call. Moving on to the next caller, Lola Smallwood Cuevas. Lola Smallwood Cuevas. If you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. No response. We'll try one more time for Mr. Simboa Wright. Simboa. There you go. We can hear you. You just muted yourself. Press *6.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to finish by saying thank you, and we look forward to being part of this ongoing discussion. This is a great opportunity, especially in Black History Month. We're making moves that will not only help Black families, but families of color. So, looking forward to moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Simboa.
Thank you, Simboa. All right, Mr. McNeil, Brian McNeil, we're back to you. Do you need a little bit more time? Mr. McNeil, caller ending in 617, do you need a little bit more time?
Yes, yes, a little more time, please.
Okay, maybe about 2 to 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Great, we'll move on to the next caller, caller ending in 373, caller ending in 373. Can you please press *6 to unmute your microphone at this time? Please state your name. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 7. Caller ending in 373. There you go.
Okay, hello, this is David Sanders, and I'm calling from SCA Local 721. I appreciate you taking my call, and I, too, want to give that same endorsement in support of this motion. I just want to make sure it's noted that for SEIU 721 has a long history of working with city entities. We work with the Coalition of Unions, County Federation, and Black Worker Center, and on these ideas and other creative ideas. I'm also currently the co-chair of the LA City's Target Local Hiring Program, also co-creator of that program. We are always in support of anything under this huge umbrella of equity. We're calling equity. We support the motion, and we will continue to support anything that's created toward that goal of creating career pathways for people of color, for people who are traditionally underserved, underemployed. We all know the statistics. We all know what the numbers are. This is a good program. It's a good step forward, and I would encourage you all to endorse this motion wholeheartedly. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. At this time, any other members from the general public that has not spoken on item number 7, if you can please press *9 at this time to raise your hand to speak on item number 7, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, item number 7, if you're a member from the general public that has not been called up to the microphone, if you can please press *9 at this time to raise your hand to speak on item number 7. Great. No other callers. Mr. McNeil, time is up. Mr. Brian McNeil.
Okay. Thank you so much for your patience. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Hi, I'm Brian McNeil, and when I envision an equitable Los Angeles, I see the city of LA creating jobs and protections for black workers through item number 7, who are American descendants of slaves. I previously worked as an aircraft mechanic in the aeronautical engineering field, but I sustained devastating career-ending work-related injuries because my employer failed to provide adequate workplace protections and safety policies. So, according to the National Institute of Health, black workers face a vast majority of disparities with regards to being unemployed and or underemployed. So we need to employ black workers and to make sure discrimination never plays a role in the city of Los Angeles while simply trying to make a living. We need dedicated education, job training, apprenticeships, and mandatory hiring for black workers in the city of Los Angeles in every area of the public sector. So the city of LA should continue to work aggressively on labor and income disparities by investing in the targeted training and hiring of black workers in the city of Los Angeles by fully supporting item number 7 with the 1,000 Black Jobs Initiative. The city of Los Angeles should continue to protect black workers from occupational discrimination by asking Mayor Garcetti, the City Council, and the Department of Public Works to fully fund and support item number 7. Thank you so much for listening. I yield my time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, that does clear out the queue for item number 7.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Campos. Thank you, callers, for navigating 2021 and Zoom. It just is what it is, but we received the message loud and clear. I am going to, at this point in the meeting, given that item 7 is a motion that I have offered up to the board, I'm going to hand over the virtual gavel, for lack of a better way to put it, to Vice President Garcia to oversee the deliberation on this item. So Vice President Garcia, you want to take that?
Thank you, President Good, and good afternoon to everyone. Happy Friday. I'm happy to be here along with all of you doing our public service duty. I know that Dr. Campos, should I reread the recommending to the board, or I know you read it at the beginning, but maybe you should just reread it for context and move forward?
Vice President Garcia, I've already read it into the record for the item. If you'd like, you can add context to start the dialogue and the discussion and deliberation within your board. However, there's nothing that precludes you from rereading it again, but no need to do it again.
No, okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that. Okay, so as Dr. Campos just said, we've already read what we are recommending to the board. We had really good callers calling in, so thank you for everybody that joined in and called in and is in support of this point for this motion. But at this time, I'm going to pass it over to my fellow colleagues, commissioners, for any questions or any comments that you would like to make. We'll start with President Good.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. So, colleagues, it is my absolute honor to introduce and submit this motion for your consideration today. I will provide a little context for the motion, though. I think, as we all know, over the course of Mayor Garcetti's tenure, he has introduced several executive directives addressing equity in the workplace, specifically equity in the city workforce, including most recently in Executive Directive 27, specifically working to address racial equity in the city of Los Angeles and city workforce. As one of our callers, I believe Mr. Sanders pointed out, the offshoots, the product, the work product from those executive directives and those efforts and the efforts of, and the really sleeves rolled up work of so many folks has been a groundbreaking targeted local hire program, groundbreaking Bridge to Jobs program, and substantial success. And that's work that we can be proud of, and in fact, work that provides a springboard to continue pushing the envelope. Because here's what we still also know, and I feel like I'm being redundant, but it always merits repeating. We know that folks from disadvantaged frontline communities, particularly black and brown Angelenos, suffer disproportionately, overwhelmingly disproportionately from homelessness. We know that folks from disadvantaged and low-income communities, again, particularly black and brown Angelenos, suffer disproportionately from chronic, grinding, painful unemployment. We know that black and brown Angelenos suffer disproportionately from public health gaps. We know that disproportionately black and brown Angelenos suffer ultimately from a profound, yawning, and again, chronic opportunity gap. And while I respect and deeply appreciate the comments that we've heard, a couple of things that I heard that I want to even add a friendly amendment to, which is the need to address the moment. I would say that there's the need to, we really need to address millions of moments. This moment's gone on for centuries. We're living in one global pandemic right now. We're looking to address in our little way with this motion a pandemic of multiple centuries. And simply put, we have an opportunity. As the Department of Public Works, we are, we award more than 100 contracts every year. We employ over 5,000 people every year. And we put out contracts at $350 to $500 million a year. We are an economic engine. We have the opportunity to be an economic engine of opportunity and of equity. Now, we know that we are also in an extraordinarily challenging economic time, but we will recover. We absolutely will recover, and we all know that. And while we can't hire right now, the day will come where we will continue to hire folks. We will begin to hire folks at breakneck pace. And the definition of crazy, the definition of futility, at the risk of being massively obvious, is doing things the same way as you've always done them. So what I respectfully suggest with this motion is that we take this opportunity to push ourselves, to build on the great work of Mayor Garcetti, to build on the great work of the Targeted Local Hire Working Group, to build on the great work of all the folks who have been deeply involved in this process over the last several months, folks that merit incredible thanks and congratulations just getting to this point. The Black Workers Center, SEIU 721, the County Federation of Labor, AFSCME 36. All of these folks have been really great partners in envisioning this sort of opportunity. And we need to build on their work. We need to build on the work of the mayor and challenge assumptions. Look at opportunities for innovation and really push the envelope to ensure that when we do reach those salad days again, when we do reach the point where as a city and as a department specifically, we are able to hire again, that we actually have a different kind of opportunity. We have potentially a different kind of model to work from. A model that, again, builds on that great work and ensures the greatest opportunity for equity and the greatest opportunity, frankly put, for those who have most often not felt the prosperity of our city, not felt the prosperity of our economy, not felt the prosperity of our country. Those are people of color in this city. Those are folks from disadvantaged and low-income communities and frontline communities in this city. It is not just a moment, it is centuries that we need to address. And no, the Department of Public Works is not going to be the silver bullet to address structural racism in this country. But what we can do is we can push that envelope and we can push the question. And we can use the platform of our girth, of our size, of our work to truly put forth opportunities and models to sort of change the game. And to change the game for the folks who have benefited the least over history from the prosperity that many folks have experienced. So I will just say on a personal level, one, thank you to Dr. Mike Davis for so generously agreeing to be my second on this motion. Two, thank you to the countless folks in the city who have contributed to this motion. Three, and perhaps most importantly, again, want to thank Janelle and Lola and Rosemarie Merlina and Rob Nodoff and Ron Herrera from the LA County Federation of Labor, to Michael Green, David Sanders, Simboa from SEIU 721, Andy Jung, Lori Condenas from ASME 36. Thank you for your partnership in thinking through this opportunity. This is an opening salvo. We're just getting ready to do the work. But I'm extremely excited. There's pretty much been nothing that I've done so far in this job that gets me more fired up. It is truly an opportunity to create opportunity. So with that, I respectfully submit this motion, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, President Good, for that. Commissioners, Commissioner Mike Davis. You're on mute, Commissioner Davis. Unmute.
Thank you very much, Vice President Garcia. It's a privilege for me to second President Good's motion here, and most importantly, my observation of the excitement from the labor community about supporting this racial justice and equity demonstration project. We are in an environment that is paradoxical in terms of the things that are going on. We have certainly been influenced by two major episodes. First, COVID-19, a pandemic for which we had no warning, at least many of us in the public, that this was going to occur, that has changed our lifestyles in terms of what we do on an everyday basis. We're wearing our masks, we are keeping our distance, and we're washing our hands regularly. But then an even bigger and more persistent pandemic, racism, which we confronted as well over the last year in 2020. We have seen specifically efforts for Black Lives Matter. And we have known what data is in every level of government, including our own. And because we are a part of the American society, this pandemic called racism is something that is inextricably tied to the things that we have to deal with in this country. And we work every day to overcome it. We know that in terms of leadership in the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti has been absolutely courageous from day one, not just simply with his recent executive order, but let's start from the beginning. If we back the car all the way back up to the entrance, as I often say, conceptually, we can see that he came into his mayorship with a back to basics principles of leadership. And in that back to basics, he stated that we aimed to create jobs in Los Angeles for all of Los Angeles. But as it is in public policy and as it is in law, over time, we have to continue to reintroduce concepts. We have to always restate them. And that's not any indifferent than what history has taught us over time on laws such as in civil rights. We've had to repeat it either in an act or we've had to substantiate it in an amendment. And so at the local level of government, we know that it has not been any difference, and particularly as we look at the work that Mayor Eric Garcetti has had to do. After we experienced this whole issue of the George Floyd issue that drew internationally the attention that we have a problem in America, that we've had the big pandemic before COVID, that we saw that there was a need for us to look within. And Mayor Garcetti was nothing less than courageous with Executive Order 27. I start off by saying we are paradoxical because at the same time, the state of California had an initiative that would have turned every philosophy around about inclusion in Proposition 16. But we did not embrace that. That's where the paradox comes in. The state has said no, inclusion should not be a major state public policy. But yet the mayor has stated his vision is that the very people who pay into Los Angeles government are the very people who should be included in it at every level. And for that, I'm excited, and for that, I am grateful. When we look at the proposal before us, the Racial Justice and Equity Demonstration Project, under the recommendation of President Good, it says that of the 43 or so departments in the city of Los Angeles in public works, we're going to aim to be the example. We have 5 bureaus, each of which, at least 4 of them, all of them, quite frankly, including Con Ed, provide a very significant service that's critically important to improving the quality of life here in Los Angeles. And in these services, jobs come with it. And we're going to, within the family of the city, look at ourselves, our own potential for inclusion. And so that's why this is a great philosophy that has been, or proposal that has been put before us to make a difference. Specifically, yes, when we look at the data, it is glaringly obvious that there is an underrepresentation in many areas for African American families. Not that there are not the same stories being told in other minority communities in this town, including the Latino community and in many areas for the Asian American community. But we are persistent and we are consistent with what the 14th Amendment of the United States of America promises us. And that bill, that amendment in and of itself, is more important than many other pieces of legislation that might be proposed at the state level. Because in the 14th Amendment, it tells us that there should be equal protection, that their citizenship should embark upon everyone and others who live here to have the opportunity for equal access to benefits of services. And that's what we attempt to do. In summary, I will say, when I look at this, it reflects the various executive orders that the mayor has implemented over time, from Executive Order 9 that looks at our young people who deserve to understand the responsibility of work and what it means to save money. It includes Executive Order 11 that talks about gender. Many of us come from matrifocal families led by women, and these women deserve to have the same level of pay that a man has because they are also leaders of families. Executive Order 15 that re-emphasizes once again that those who are poor, those who are left out, those who have had some unfortunate incident, whether they have been prior individuals in the penal justice system, they deserve to have an equal opportunity once they have done their work to be included in society. And then finally, most recently, Executive Order 27. So this is a great piece of legislation, a great policy that reflects the direction that the mayor has given us over time. And so I am equally as excited, President Good, as is the labor community that has spoken about not only what we have observed from our brothers and sisters from other city departments, but from what we have committed to do within our very own dynamic Department of Public Works to be the example to make the difference. And so for that, I'm grateful. And for that, I proudly second your motion to have a racial justice and equity demonstration project coming out of the dynamic, the great service delivery department of Public Works for the city of Los Angeles. And I hope that through your tenure, we will be able to make a difference in terms of implementing this legislation. And thank you so much, President Garcia.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Davis. Appreciate always your historical background on all of our issues. Moving on with Commissioner Calosa. Any questions?
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. I don't have any questions for my two colleagues, President Good and President Pro Tem Davis. I just want to, echo and also give my support for the motion. I think there's so much about this demonstration project that speaks volumes about the values that we as a city stand for. One of my favorite things about this motion that was just mentioned as well is that it really takes all the equity, diversity, inclusion initiatives that the mayor has championed and wrapped a big bow around it, and really brought all these executive directives to bear at, what will become hopefully an incredibly innovative and groundbreaking project here in Public Works. I also really appreciate hearing the labor partners and everybody who dialed in to really give their stamp of approval, knowing that they're here at the table from the very beginning to help form what this partnership looks like. I think is going to set it up for success. And the the third piece that I also just wanted to mention that I really appreciated about this motion, there's a lot of great things here, but once upon a time I worked in the Obama administration, and I don't talk about it often, but one of the things I actually worked on was our pre-apprenticeship programs and our career and technical education programs. So I know it's one of the things that we know that works, right? Investing in our greatest asset, our people power really works, and investing in workforce development works. So I'm really excited to see how that piece unfolds in Public Works and how we can continue to bridge some of these programs and really transform more families and more Black and Brown communities as a consequence of this work. But I fully support this. I just appreciate my two colleagues and all the hard work that you've put into this, as well as other city agencies and other partners. So thank you, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Appreciate your comments. Commissioner Villegas, sorry.
Hi, thank you so much, Vice President Garcia. I echo all the beautiful sentiments from my colleagues, and I am so glad that we've come to this day to be able to approve this item and be able to do some good work just for many, many communities that really, really do deserve it. So we know that Los Angeles is made up of many different communities, and they're all significantly impacted. So wherever we can put our dollars, our tax dollars, to give, some good work, I think that it merits that. It merits our attention, and it merits, the establishment of this program. So I'm glad that President Good and Commissioner Davis were able to, bring this forward to us so that other communities can also benefit from it. I look forward to seeing, this come to fruition, and that is all for now.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Appreciate your comments as well. And I echo all of my colleagues' comments and appreciate the work that Commissioner Davis and our President Good has put into today's motion. And with that, Dr. Campos, I put in a motion to move this item forward.
Vice President Garcia, we do have the motion by President Good.
I know, it's kind of weird to do this.
And seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. So at this point, we would just consider any objections, and then we can take the vote.
Got it. Any objections, colleagues? Hearing none.
Free. All in favor?
All in favor? Yay. Yay.
Any opposed?
Let's do it officially. All in favor? President Good?
I am a resounding yes and in favor of this motion.
Commissioner Mike Davis?
Davis, aye.
Commissioner Calosa?
Aye.
Commissioner Villegas?
Aye.
And myself is an aye.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. The item is passed.
This item is adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you, colleagues, for this number 6. Yay! And also thank you to all those that came into our calls today. I appreciate your time and you being here with us this Friday afternoon. This motion has now been passed. Thank you.
Colleagues, I need to step away briefly, but Vice President Garcia will chair the meeting until I'm back. Thanks, everybody. Thank you all very much, all of you.
Thank you, President Good. So now he leaves to go celebrate. All right, so moving to our next item, we're going to kind of skip around a little bit because there's some items that we need to tackle first. We're just going to retract one, and we're going to go to item number 6. So bear with me because it is a long reading material. I'm practicing my reading out loud skills today. This is item number 6 in Council District 14. This is for a street closure for Metro Regional Connector Transit Corridor Project, 4th Street between Figueroa Street and Flower Street, Flower Street between 4th Street and 5th Street. Recommending to the board that 1, find that the board has reviewed and considered the information in the Metro Regional Connector Transit Corridor Project Draft Environmental Impact Statement, Environmental Impact Report, and the project final EIS-EIR. 2, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since certification of the EIS-EIR, there have been no changes with respect to the circumstances under which the temporary street closures being undertaken would require a subsequent EIR or supplemental EIR. 3, adopt the January 20, 2012 Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, Chapter 8 of the final EIS-EIR and Appendix 3, Memorandum of Agreement, prepared by the Los Angeles County Metro as it pertains to construction impacts. 4, under the CEQA Guidelines Section 15091, the changes have been incorporated into the project, which substantially lessens the significant environment effects as identified in the final EIS/EIR. Further, find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen any significant effect of the project would have on the environment. Number 5, adopt the attached CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations as it pertains to the temporary street closures, and find that the economic, social, technological, and other benefits of the project outweigh its significant and avoidable impacts. 6, specify that the Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering, located at 1149 South Broadway, the board located on 200 North Spring Street, and other relevant City of Los Angeles departments are custodians of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. 7, approve the request to temporarily close 4th Street between Figueroa Street and Flower Street, including the intersections of Flower Street and 4th Street, for 4 58-hour weekends starting Friday at 7 p.m. and ending Monday at 5 a.m. for the following weekends, subject to the conditions identified within this report. From March 5th to March 8, 2021, or March 12th to March 15, 2021, March 19 to March 22nd, 2021, and from March 26 to March 29, 2021. 8, approve the request to temporarily close Flower Street between 4th Street and 5th Street for 13 58-hour weekends starting Friday at 7 p.m. and ending Monday at 5 a.m. for the following weekends, subject to the conditions identified within this report. From March 26 to March 29, 2021, April 9th to April 12th, 2021, April 16th to April 19th, 2021, April 23rd to April 26th, 2021, April 30 to May 3rd, 2021, May 7th to May 10th, 2021, May 14th to May 17th, 2021, May 21st to May 24th, 2021. Larry, could we have done this a little shorter? We'll talk about that
I will
later.
try. That crosses my mind every time. Thank you, President Pro Tem Garcia.
June 4th to June 7th, 2021, June 11th to June 14th, 2021, June 18th to June 21st, 2021, June 25th to June 28th, 2021, and July 9th to July 12th, 2021. And 9, authorize the city engineer and the director of the Bureau of Street Services to administratively approve an extension of 2 additional weekends beginning Friday, July 16, 2021 and ending July 25th, 2021, if unforeseen conditions are encountered which may delay the completion of this construction. Yay! All right, after reading half the book, do we have any public comments? Fernando, Dr. Campos.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. At this time, members of the general public that would like to speak on item number 6. Again, this is the Board of Public Works, item number 6, which is a street closure Metro Regional Connector Transit Corridor Project, 4th Street. If you'd like to make any comments on item number 6, if you can please press star 9 at this time to raise your hand. Again, the Board of Public Works is considering item number 6, street closure. Vice President Garcia, at this time, no members of the public have expressed interest in speaking on this item.
Great. Okay. So we'll send it off to our Metro representatives. I'm sorry, Larry. I almost skipped you. Go, Larry. Sorry.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. I'm Larry Hsu from Bureau of Engineering Metro Transit Division. The Metro Regional Connector Project is a 1.9-mile underground light rail transit line that will extend from a new Little Tokyo Arts District station to the 7th Street Metro Center and includes 3 stations at Little Tokyo Arts District, Historic Broadway, and Grand Avenue Arts Bunker Hill Station. The regional connector is scheduled to reach revenue service in the fall of 2022. Metro and their contractor, RCC, that is the Regional Connector Constructors, are requesting to temporarily close 4th Street between Figueroa and Flower Street for 4 weekends, starting March 5th and 2021 and ending Monday, March 29th, 2021, and Flower Street between 4th Street and 5th Street for 13 weekends, beginning Friday, March 26th and ending Monday, July 12th, 2021. Each weekend closure is scheduled to start at 7 p.m. on Fridays and end at 5 a.m. on Mondays. No closures are requested for the weekends of April 2nd, 2021 and May 28th, 2021, which correspond to Easter and Memorial Day, respectively. The work planned during this closure is for the removal of concrete decking and support structure, backfill, and pavement restoration. Major submittals for this work have been approved by BOE and other public works bureaus, and there are no unresolved notice of noncompliance issued by BCA on this project. Access to the Bonaventure Hotel's passenger loading zones and driveways and the J2 garage and Citigroup's parking garage are maintained through the Worksite Traffic Control Plan. At the time of writing this report, the Worksite Traffic Control Plan was pending. However, since that time, the Worksite Traffic Control Plan has been approved by LADOT. As part of evaluating this request, staff from the BOE's Environmental Management Division reviewed the environmental documentation from Metro and generated a memo attached to this report which summarized the impacts and mitigation measures associated with this closure. City Council District 14 concurs with this request, and Metro has performed outreach for this closure and continues to hold regular public meetings to provide updates on the project. That concludes my report. We have staff from BOE, LADOT, Metro, and RCC available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry, for that report. I appreciate it. Anything you might want to add from Metro folks at this time?
Well, Vice President Garcia, thank you. I'll just take a moment to thank the board for their support. You know, it's about 4 years ago we were before the board asking for the same similar series of closures to deck the street, and now we're approaching the end of the project and happy to be restoring the street. Unfortunately, it's a lengthy process. We had a lot of lessons learned the first time around. It turned out to be a very difficult portion of the project, but we've applied those lessons learned to this phase of the work. I think also our stakeholders know more about what to expect, and I think all of us within the city family also have a little bit better understanding. So we're thankful for past support. We're asking your approval of this motion today. And following this series of 16 weekends, we will be coming back to the board for approval for another series 2022 weekends for the south part of Flower Street between 5th and our connecting point at 17 Metro. So it's a major amount of work that will continue through the balance of this year as we complete the project. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Olga is also here. She's been actively involved in outreach to our stakeholders throughout this process, and we've been both answering questions.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to our colleagues, see if they have any questions for you, and then we'll move forward. Commissioner Mike Davis, any questions for our Metro item? You're on mute.
Thank you, Vice President. None for me on this particular item.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Calosa, any questions?
Thanks, Vice President Garcia. Thanks for your report, Mr. Shu. Nice to see you, Mr. Baker, and Ms. Arroyo. I do have some questions for this. If you can speak a little bit to, I know hopefully it's okay to speak about this, but there's a few closures for Regional Connector that are in place right now. So can you talk a little bit about how this closure intersects with the existing closures that you have approval from the board?
Well, yes. During the preparation and study working with LADOT on these closures, we looked at our detour routes and make sure that we're not overlapping detour routes and or overloading capacity. I think currently we have the pleasure of maybe working under lighter street traffic, but nevertheless, this work is done on the weekends. Purposely to avoid.
You're cutting a little in and out, Mr. Baker. It might just be me, but I actually can't hear what you're saying.
No, yeah, you cut off a little. You go low and high on your volume.
I'm sorry, I'll try again. I was just saying that this work is scheduled on the weekends, primarily to avoid the heavy traffic during weekdays. But we do coordinate the detour routes to make sure we're providing vehicles passage through the area without overloading the streets. So that is evaluated during the design. I'm sorry. I hope you can hear me.
No. Well, you're really close to my computer. I can. I don't know. Maybe Ms. Arroyo is able to step in, or Mr. Shu. But you know, I don't know if you have a set of headphones. Maybe you can try plugging in, and the mic might be better there.
Or Mr. Shu, do you have an answer for Commissioner Calosa?
Well, in terms of, we have DOT on the line, who's familiar with evaluating all the different traffic control plans and how they intersect, and if there's how they influence each other. So we could ask them to comment on that if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. If somebody from DOT is able to speak up, or somebody else from Metro, since Mr. Baker is having some mic issues. One of the reasons why I asked how this is going to impact current closures that the board has already approved. I know, Mr. Baker, I'm going to bring this up already, but it's come to my attention that there's been a closure that's going to exceed the time that the board approved that's scheduled for this weekend. And so that's one of the things that, I'm concerned with as I see this closure before us, and how that's going to, impact your schedule, and also, obviously, of course, the fact that it's exceeding the authority that we approved at the board is something that, we never want to see happen. So I'm glad to see that for this specific item. I know BOE and Street Services did add a contingency, and so that's why I was asking that question to kind of get at that point. And I see Ms. Arroyo has kindly raised her hand.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Calosa. I will try my best to summarize what Mr. Gary Baker mentioned. And what he explained is that this closure has been reviewed closely with the Department of Transportation. Detour routes have been evaluated to ensure that there's no overlap with detour routes for other areas that are currently closed as part of the project. And so we have received approval from LADOT on these closures, and they have not raised any concerns of potential conflict. You mentioned the additional dates requested for another area of the alignment. With the addition of those 2 dates, if approved by the commission, there wouldn't be a conflict either, as the detours that are being designated are in opposite directions and in different parts of downtown LA to minimize that conflict.
Mr. Jordan, did you unmute yourself to say something?
Well, no, I think staff, I could hear Gary somewhat, although he did sort of, the audio cut out at the end, but my interpretation was that these specific closures are being done sort of in conjunction with the overall project, and they're designed to be weekend closures just to avoid, and minimize the traffic impacts. But I think, staff, I think, gave a good summary of it. I was just trying to assist because I got most of the audio, but it only cut off at the very end on my part, so I'm just trying to help.
Thanks, Mr. Jordan. Would it be appropriate for me to ask about a different street closure that's related to the regional connector?
Well, I mean, these things all work together in its one project, so I think there's a relationship between, the closures associated with the project. I don't want to get into some other project that's not before us, but to the extent that if everything is connected together, I don't see an issue with it.
Perfect. Just wanted to double check that I was not going beyond the scope of what we needed to discuss today. But Mr. Baker, like I mentioned, it's come to my attention that you'll be going beyond the board's authority for a street closure that's going to extend into this weekend that was not included in the request. Can you speak a little bit to what happened there and how do we ensure that that wouldn't happen for this closure in front of us?
I'll try. Can you hear me now? Otherwise, I'll ask my colleague Olga to respond.
We can hear you, but maybe if you project, maybe closer to your... You may be yelling, I'm not sure already, but...
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, the work on Broadway and 2nd Street and Spring Street, I believe that you're referring to. We have asked BOE to approve those 2 additional weeks. The first, which is starting tomorrow, is a result of, unfortunately, some administrative delays in getting an amendment to a permit from LA County. It's only enabled us to complete half of the work last week that we intended to complete. So we need to complete that work tomorrow. That then pushes forward the planned switch between Broadway and Spring Street, and that is the reason we have requested the closure on March 6th. And there's in the past there has been some latitude on closing lanes, whether we need a full street closure or not. And I think this time there was a misunderstanding at the outset whether a full closure was needed, but after evaluating with DOT, it was determined that a full closure was required. Therefore, we've asked BOE to extend, and the board to extend the closure to March 6th.
Maybe this is, if DOT's on the line, or maybe Mr. Hsu. So what I'm understanding is the closure that's, impacting the schedule for the one before us, that's actually not a full street closure, that is a partial street closure?
Yeah, I'd like to, I was going to say I was going to phone a friend. DOT and, or Ann, if you could chime in, one of you.
Yes, hi, this is Kevin Lee from LADOT. Yes, you're right, Commissioner, that was a full street closure. It was 2nd Street between Broadway and Spring. And that was necessary, again, to take out the decking that's in place. And the next phase of the closure is basically doing the other side, or the west side of 2nd Street, closer to Broadway. So that's basically the closure. It's very similar to what we did in the past when we installed the deck panels with the closure. So it's very similar. It's fairly well understood. We have we're just using the same detour routes as last time. And so it's pretty, there's really not too many surprises from a traffic standpoint on this one.
Thank you, Kevin. And maybe, sorry, Mr. Baker, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I guess what assurances are in place that that doesn't happen for this closure? That there's not, this delay, and then you have to go beyond, the date that you're asking from us to close the streets, right? So we approved it. We want to work with Metro. You're a very good partner with us, but we also want to make sure that we are, doing and going through the proper process in which to approve this, which is really through the board, and not running into these situations where we're not able to revise or extend a street closure properly, and are having to do it in this manner, which is really more of like an oral update instead of going through the process where the public has the full benefit of hearing the actual dates and the real dates that are going to impact them.
For the motion before us on Flower Street today, there has been 2 contingency weekends requested to deal with any unforeseen conditions that may arise to address the very concern that we expressed.
And the last, the one that's happening this weekend, there was no contingency attached to that street closure, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so maybe that's something we can work offline about, with Mr. Hsu, and we can see how do we maybe create a better policy for street closures so that we ensure that you're successful, that we are doing this, with the full transparency of the public, and they understand what the actual, dates are, because I hate to move the target for the public and anybody who may be listening in that may be paying attention to what dates are actually going to be closed, only to then move the yardstick again. And so maybe Mr. Hsu and I will follow up with you and your team. I don't have any other questions for you. I just want to, wanted to make a point to address that, because I know that's not something I like to see or my colleagues like to see for street closures. And the final item I wanted to also bring up, Mr. Baker, has come to my attention that you may be retiring. So is this the last time we're going to see you? Is that true?
I hope not. I'll be making the quarterly presentation in the middle of next month. So we can say goodbye then.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. Thank you, Mr. Baker. I was very sad to hear that you're retiring. So that's it for me, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Calosa. Appreciate all your comments. And Mr. Baker, we look forward to your final presentation to us. Even, I did also, we get sad when we see people go. We've already established a rapport, and we understand you and you understand us. And so we got to start all over again. So thank you for that. Final answer on that, right, Mr. Hsu?
Yep.
All right. Commissioner Villegas, any comments or questions on this item?
No comments and no questions. I appreciate Commissioner Calosa's questions, just for more context. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Hearing no more questions, is there a motion to move this item forward?
So moved.
Commissioner Davis?
Second that.
Second by Commissioner Villegas. Any objections or comments, Commissioner Calosa?
None. Thank you, President Garcia.
Thank you. Hearing none, this item is now adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Baker, Mr. Hsu, Ms. Arroyo, and Mr. Kevin from DOT for being here today. Happy Friday.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. All right. Moving along, we're going to jump now to item number 8. I just want to work that out before it gets any later. So this is item number 8. This is in Council District 1 and 14. Bid date extension and revised budget. Arroyo Seco low flow diversion. Project AS 15AS-21 and Via Marisol Street reconstruction. 1. Recommending the board to 1. Grant an extension of the bid date from March 9th, 2021 to March 16th, 2021 and revise the city engineer's estimate from $6,546,427 to $4,394,600. And 2. Advise all prospective bidders of the board's action by addendum. Do we have anybody here from Streets? Who's doing this? Is Streets LA, right?
This is the Bureau of Engineering is doing this item. We have Mr. Chris Johnson.
You're right. City Engineer Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's all yours.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Johnson with the Clean Water Division of the Bureau of Engineering. So this construction work is actually 2 projects. There's a water quality project along the Arroyo Seco and a street reconstruction project on Via Marisol. The 2 projects each have their own funding sources. The reason they're advertised as a single construction project is that one of the low-flow diversions is at the same location as the street improvements, so constructing them under the same contract means only having to dig up the street once. The water quality project is mandated by Regional Water Quality Control Board to meet NMS 4 permit compliance deadline. We've recognized that if the low bid for the street project is over budget, we would be unable to award construction for both projects, and this would adversely impact our permit compliance, resulting in significant penalties. So changing the street project to an alternate bid item would remedy this by allowing the board to award the water quality project to the low bidder separate from the street project in the event that the street project price is over budget. So if bids for both components of the work come in within budget, then work on both can proceed as planned. In summary, this motion would change the Via Marisol Street reconstruction project to alternate bid items. It would lower the city engineer's estimate to just include the water quality project, and it would extend the bid receipt date by approximately 1 week. So as part of this, we'd also like to request 2 minor amendments to this motion. The first is to delete work order numbers SZS 11690 and SZS 11691 from the text of the motion. And the second is to change the extended bid date from March 16th to the board meeting following the 16th. I believe it's the 17th. With that, I can answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for that. Any questions, colleagues? We'll go with Commissioner Mike Davis.
Sure. Help me, Chris, understand the deduction from the $6 million to the $4 million occurs because of what again?
It occurs because we're removing the street reconstruction project from the city engineer's estimate for the basic bid. It's still included. It'll still be bid upon, and we'll have. But now it's only an option to award that street project. It's not included in the official city engineer's bid items, which are the basic bid.
And what is the overall time period that we estimate it will take to proceed in the completion of the project?
We're looking at completion by middle of 2022.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Commissioner Calosa?
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Mr. Johnson briefed me on this, so I'm good. No questions on the item.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I have no questions either. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hearing no more questions, is there a motion to move this item forward?
Vice President Garcia, request to adopt this item as amended based on Mr. Johnson's recommendations to remove those 2 work orders and also to adjust the bid receipt date to Wednesday, March 17th, if that's okay with your board.
Yes, definitely. As amended, we'll go again. Motion to move this item forward with the amendments that Dr. Campos just stated.
Yes, so move.
Commissioner Mike Davis. Second by Commissioner Calosa. All right. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None for me.
And hearing none, then this item is now adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your time. Happy Friday and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along, we are going to move to number 3 at this time. I understand we have some callers on the line, Dr. Campos. I think we should take the callers in first.
Absolutely, Vice President Garcia. Would you like to read item number 3 into the record, or would you like me to do that?
No, I can read it. I'll read it now.
Okay.
I'll read it now, and then we'll take the callers, and we'll take questions from commissioners. Perfect. Okay. This is item number 3 in Council District 12. This is a tree removal for 8305 and 8329 North Shirley Avenue. Recommending the board to, 1, find that this project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1 through 33 of the State Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and that there is no substantial evidence that the proposed project will have significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Quality Act. Number 2, find that none of the exceptions to the use of the categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15301 through 15333 of the State CEQA guidelines apply. Number 3, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is in custodian of the documents of other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And number 4, approve the request for a fee permit for 3 Southern California black walnut trees. I'm going to try to say Juglans californica, the official name. 3 replacements are required. And with that, we'll take any callers, our public comment.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. The Board of Public Works is now considering public comments on item number 3, the tree removal on North Shirley Avenue. We do have 3 callers on the line that would like to speak on this item. All other callers that are on the line from the general public, if you'd like to speak on item number 3, you can go ahead and please press star 9 at this time to raise your hand. I do have 3 callers, caller ending in 890, 645, and also 631 that are already in the queue. For all other members that are joining us and listening in from the general public, if you'd like to speak on item number 3, can you please press star 9 at this time to raise your hand. We'll go ahead and take the first caller. Caller ending in 890, caller ending in 890. Can you please press unmute at this time by pressing star 6? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. Commissioners, this is Diana Nicole, Science Director for Urban Woodlands Watch. This site is a rare walnut grove. The Southern California black walnut, also known as California walnut, is found naturally no other place on the planet. California walnut is also recognized as a rare species with a limited range that has its center in the city of Los Angeles. California walnuts are unique in that, they never form a single species forest. They only rarely form a grove. And at this site, we have one of those rarities. So if you're going to approve this removal and the categorical exemption, you need to at least require that the protected tree removals be replaced in kind. Currently, the proposal is to replace them out of kind. In kind means replacing California walnuts for California walnuts. By failing to replace California walnuts in kind, the ecological impacts will not be mitigated. California walnut trees and coast live oak trees, which is what is being proposed here, form very different ecological functions. The project proponents apparently have not engaged the services of a qualified restoration ecologist. If they had, they would have noticed the flaws in the tree mitigation scheme. So I advise that 12 California walnut trees in a combination of 15-gallon and 5-gallon size horticulture stock be required for age diversity, and because 24-inch box-size walnuts are problematic for the survival of the tree, and I know we all want the replacement trees to survive. Last year, you had a landscape architect before you that said he had no problem securing the 5 and 15-gallon size California walnut trees and had no problem doing the replacements in kind.
Thank you,
So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
Great. We'll move on to the next caller, Ms. D'Antonio, caller ending in 631. Can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3. Hi, Ms. D'Antonio, caller ending in 631, caller ending in 631. Can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3. Last call, Joanne D'Antonio, caller ending in 631. Can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3. Okay. Getting no response.
You hear me?
Oh, I was just about to move on.
I know. My battery went out. Okay.
Just in time. Go ahead.
Okay. CFAC members are chosen by city council members because we comprehend tree value. Local decisions affect the health of all of us, and sadly, few neighborhood councils understand the crucial importance of trees. This property likely has the city's largest rare walnut trees. While it is very good that the biggest ones on site are being retained, they are nonetheless in grave danger. This property is almost completely covered with structures in the plans, 2 houses and 2 ADUs, so not much workspace during building. Construction crews park materials under them, which is harmful. There is no supervision by tree specialists, and crews can accidentally bulldoze the orange plastic fencing. To safely save the trees, you must require chain link fencing as only suggested in the protected tree ordinance. As you can see in the transmittal, 785 could be impacted by the driveway. Who is going to be there to monitor this? Santa Monica has tree inspections to make sure trees are fully protected and watered during construction. Los Angeles has nothing like this unless you require it. Also, tree number 786, a gorgeous walnut specimen, could be saved with just a slight relocation of the footprint. Why don't we have an urban forest planner in the planning department to advise for this? The developer himself commented at the neighborhood council meeting last night that no one in the department knew what to advise him. Finally, the new trees could be spaced out better. Walnuts and oaks grow large, and trunks should be 30 feet apart, according to UFD. Please do not require 24-inch boxes for the walnuts. Walnuts are more easily available in 5 and sometimes 15-gallon containers and actually grow better and faster. Thank you for any effort you can make to improve this situation.
Great. Thank you, Ms. D'Antonio. Appreciate your comments.
We'll move on to the next caller. We have 2 more calls. Thank you, Ms. D'Antonio.
Yes, thank you.
We'll move on to the next caller. We have 2 more in the queue. Mr. Hall, caller ending in 645. Caller ending in 645. Please press *6 at this time to unmute yourself, your microphone, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Hall. I am a land use environmental attorney with Channel Law Group. I represent Urban Woodlands Watch on a pro bono basis on this matter. I sent in a letter explaining how this project is not exempt from CEQA. This is, as you heard from other callers, the Southern California black walnut is considered a rare species. And the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is a trustee agency, which is owed deference, has concluded that rare species such as the walnut require environmental review under CEQA.
But that's just the purely legal matter. That really what Urban Woodlands Watch requests of you today is to require in-kind replacement. You're actually, staff is proposing 6 walnuts and 6 oak trees. Really what you should do is require wholly in-kind replacements. 12 Southern California black walnuts should be required as the replacement trees. This is not something that necessarily requires you to have a science degree. You can't mitigate for the loss of a rare species by planting a species of another type. That should be self-evident. And there's no good justifiable reason for allowing the applicant to plant anything other than the rare species that's being removed. And this is something that we will continue to be advocating for because it's the right thing to do. And we ask you to amend that condition and require Southern California black walnuts to be replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall, for your comments. Is that all, Dr. Campos, or do we have more?
We have one more.
Okay.
Vice President Garcia, caller ending in 350, caller ending in 350. Can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 3, and you can start by stating your name.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. This is Dara Manassian. I'm the architect on the project, and I was asked by the owner to be available to answer questions. All I wanted to add, if I would ask to add any information, is that on the south site, the 8305, the single tree that is being proposed for removal has been recommended to be removed by the arborist because of its condition, and it is dying and has to be replaced. It's the only one. As far as the other site, which is the 329, there are 2 smaller, again, trees that are being requested for removal, and the reason we have tried to do everything we could to save those 2 was not doable. The reason is there are excessive setbacks requirements. The setback, the lot is about 101 feet deep. The front setback is 40, the rear setback is 25. That leaves about 36 feet to plot the building on the site. And this house is not a large house, it's 3,600 square feet, 3,200 square feet actually, with an ADU attached to it. And that 1 story, a modest intrusion in the vicinity. But to be able to build the house, we needed to remove these 2 trees. There are other trees on that same site, bunched together on the southwest corner. Those are being saved, as are other trees being saved throughout the site and adjacent to the site. That's pretty much what I had to add.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for your comment as well. Is that our final and last caller, Dr. Campos?
That is correct, Vice President Garcia.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll now move to Mr. Bañuelos from the Bureau of Street Services. Mr. Bañuelos?
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Hector Bañuelos with the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. What we have before us is a request for the applicant to remove 3 Southern California black walnuts at 8305 and at 8329 North Shirley Avenue in Council District 12 and the Community of Northridge. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 one-story single-family residences at each of the lots. And the applicant did apply and was approved for a lot realignment to even out the sizes of the lots because they were not equal sizes. So now they are measuring approximately 21,439 square feet each. And the residences, the single-family residences, will have a residential floor area of approximately 2,800 square feet each of the dwelling units, and the accessory dwelling units will have approximately 500 square feet and 1,200 square feet of living area. There are 10 walnuts on site right now on both properties. There were 11. One of the walnut tree was dead. It was pretty close to Roscoe Boulevard and hanging over precariously over Roscoe. And so we did, Urban Forestry issued a permit to remove that one dead tree due to its severe condition. So there are 10 trees there now. 4 trees are growing at 8305 North Shirley Avenue, and we have 6 trees growing at 8329 North Shirley Avenue. At 8305, there is 1 tree growing within the footprint of the proposed structure. And as indicated earlier by the applicant, the tree is in very poor condition. It's about 60% in decline, and it probably should be removed just on its condition alone. And the other 3 trees on the lot will be retained in place. They'll be minimally impacted. They're far enough from the structure where the impact will be minimal, and it will be monitored by the arborist of record. The location there at 8329 North Shirley Avenue has 6 walnut trees there on site. Two of the walnuts are located within the footprint of the building, and they're in fair condition, but they will need to be removed in order to allow construction of the proposed dwelling. The Department of City Planning did prepare did indicate that the project is categorically exempt and prepared a notice of exemption for the project. The Council District 12, the Community Forestry Advisory Committee, and the Department of Empowerment were informed of the tree removal permit request. The division did not receive any response from the council office in support or against the project, and it is assumed that they are neutral. And as you may know, we did receive some correspondence from both from the residences there. We received correspondence in support of the project, and we've also received correspondence and opposed to the project and the tree removals. If approved, the applicant, the division is okay with the recommendation to replant 6 Southern California black walnut trees in 15-gallon size or as large a container size as available, and 6 24-inch box size coast live oak trees on the project. The tree replacements will be bonded, the survival of the tree will be bonded, guaranteed by survival for a minimum of 3-year period. That concludes my presentation. I'm here to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ingelos, for your presentation. Just to be clear, we are asking for the permit for 3 Southern California black walnut, and one of them would have to have been removed because of its health conditions, right?
Yes, it's in really bad condition. One of them.
Okay, so I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues. Commissioner Villegas, any questions, concerns, comments?
If you may, please, let me also make a quick notation. There was, within the contents of the report, identified as tree number 787. It's actually tree number 786 that is proposed for removal at 8329 Shirley. I just wanted to note that for the record.
Okay. I'll ask Dr. Campos if we need to make any official changes on the motion at the end. Okay. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, Vice President Garcia, and thank you, Mr. Banuelos, for your report. I just wanted to confirm some facts that you reviewed right now. You said that the single tree that's slated for removal at 8305 North Shirley Avenue is not in good condition. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, and was that shared with some of the advocates that testified today?
That is written within the contents of the report, and it also was shared with some of the advocates, yes.
Okay. All right, and then there is a total of, I guess, 6 trees at 8329 North Shirley Avenue, and 2 of those are slated to be removed because of setback requirements for development. Is that correct?
Well, they're within, I don't know about the setback requirements, but they are within the footprint of the dwelling unit, the proposed dwelling.
All right, and then just last, you mentioned that the replacement's going to be 6 black walnut trees, and those are going to be 15-gallon.
15-gallon or as large container size available.
Okay, and also 6 live oak trees. And was this information shared with some of the advocates?
Yes.
Okay. All right, because they mentioned that, this replacement was not in kind, but I'm a little confused if it is or it isn't.
Well, we have 6 walnuts replacing, the removal of 3 walnuts. So the reason why we concurred with the recommendation from the arborist actually they wanted to replace all oak trees, and we asked that they not do that, and that we recommended definitely replanting walnut trees for the loss of the walnuts there for the construction. Also, knowing that the walnuts are small, they're most likely going to be very small when they're planted. The coast live oak trees are large trees. They can grow much larger than the walnuts and provide a lot of shade, much more than a walnut tree can. And that's why we're recommending. That's why we made the recommendation as such.
I understand that. I'm just trying to get understanding of just the comment that was made that it's. I just would like that, just more clarity or more black and white. So the replacement of the 3 trees that will be removed will be replaced with 6 black walnut trees. Is that correct?
Yes, and 6 coast live oak trees.
And 6 coast live oak trees. So does that make it a replacement of in kind?
Well, there's going to be a replacement in kind, but in kind with 2-to-1 as opposed to 4-to-1. However, let me add also that the division is not opposed to changing the recommendations to if the board wishes to allow the 4 walnuts to be replanted for each removal.
Okay, then can you clarify just sorry for asking additional questions. Can you clarify one more time just the reasoning why it was recommended by Streets LA to have an additional 6 coast live oak trees instead of all walnut trees?
Because the oak trees, they're prevalent in the area as it is. There are oak trees in the adjacent areas, and they're prevalent throughout the valley. And so the oak trees do provide much more shade than the walnuts. So therefore, that's why we've and they do provide also habitat for wildlife. And so with that, the division did want to increase the canopy by allowing the planting of the oak trees.
Okay. And would the developer be open to planting more walnut trees instead of the coast live oak trees? I understand the rationale why you wanted them, though.
I would defer to the applicant to respond to that.
Do we have the applicant here? Or the developer? I think we have the architect.
I believe the architect's on the line, 350. However, I'm not sure if the developer's on the line. Is the applicant on item number 3 on the line? If so, if you can please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone.
Or if
the arborist. Is the arborist on item number 3 available on this line? Madam Chair, the only individual that's on the line associated with the applicant would be the architect, which is caller ending in 350. Mr. Banuelos, did we notify the applicant?
Yes. Oh, he was notified.
Okay. The architect indicated that he was here at the request of the applicant, so one could presume the applicant was aware of the hearing. If the board wishes, we can ask the architect. I'm not sure why they're not jumping in. And
yeah, I would want to hear an answer from
and so, if you're gonna, you don't need their permission to impose this condition. If you wish to change the condition, you can do that. Obviously, I think it would be better for the, at a minimum, the architect, but it would be good if the applicant spoke. But it's your authority to act here.
Thank you for that clarification. I understand that that we can make that request just for transparency, for parity, for openness here, just giving him an opportunity to speak.
I agree. Mr. I didn't catch his name. I just remember his title, architect.
Caller ending in 350, caller ending in 350. The Board of Public Works has a question. Can you please
Somebody's
unmute your
got their
microphone?
hand raised.
Yeah, it's 350. Yeah, if you there you go.
Yes.
I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was asked to be available at this meeting, but I'm surprised that the applicant and the arborist are not, because my understanding was they were going to be. For some reason, seems to be the case. But this is a question regarding whether all the replacement trees should be the black walnuts, and I'm not really sure. In addition to the fact that there's canopy advantage with the oaks, if there was any other reason that they were not all the smaller replacements of versions of the black walnut, but it may have to. I don't know if availability is an issue too. If the tree that is required is available, and or is in short availability. I'm not sure about that, but just speaking as the architect, I don't see any negative, except for obviously canopy shade and all that. But if the trees, if there is a real justification to replace in kind, then that would be up to the board to decide.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you for at least answering our questions. I know you expected the developer to be here, but I appreciate it. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Before we go, I would put in a request, or I would put in a probably an amendment, or however Fernando or Mr. Campos or Mr. Jordan see fit, if we can have the replacement be a total of 12 black walnuts.
Okay.
Commissioner Villegas, do you have a specification in terms of size?
15 gallon. It already, on the initial request was 6 black walnuts at 15 gallons, so I would just make it a total of 12 with the same 15 gallon.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to add also, this is Hector, that the 15 gallon size aren't always available at the nurseries. There are, the walnuts don't grow very large in containers. They don't do very well when they're growing very large in containers. So 15 gallon may not be available, but definitely they could find 5 gallon or 1 gallon or as large container size that they can find. Will permit them to, we should allow.
I guess then we'll make it between 5 to 15.
Great. Thank
That
you.
is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Appreciate your comments on all of this. Commissioner Calosa, any questions, comments?
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. I appreciate Commissioner Villegas's questions. Kind of just looking at the actual tree species before us, and maybe if I could just also have a clarification question too for Mr. Benuelos. So is the species of the black walnut, is that the exact same that we would be replacing it with? Maybe that's where I'm having a hard time understanding in terms of kind of the in-kind question that Commissioner Villegas also asked, and that was also raised by some of the constituents in public comment.
The Southern California black walnut, it would be the Juglans californica that the applicant will be required to replant. Yes, that would be in kind.
Okay, so it's literally the exact same species. that we're removing.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That's where I was a little unclear, where it seemed like there was maybe a different species of the black walnut that it was different than what was on site, but thank you for clarifying that. I don't think I have any more questions about this. I think some of the points Commissioner Villegas made already that hopefully addressed some of the concerns that were raised by some of the callers who joined in. So thanks everyone for your feedback as well. Thank you, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa, and for your questions. Commissioner Dr. Davis, any questions?
My only point has been discussed by both Commissioners Villegas and Calosa in terms of clarity in as far as the walnut is concerned. I understand the walnut is a unique tree, and it appears that the individuals who are involved in having something to say about this site would like for us to have all of the trees that are walnut, California walnut trees, replaced in kind as California walnut trees in each of the areas where we are making some change. So it seems as if there is no opposition to that. And while maybe every area would not request that, it seems that what is being said from the testimony we've received here this afternoon is that the practice has been that the replacement would be specifically California walnut. So as has been raised by Commissioner Villegas, I would certainly support, particularly in this particular case, the replacement of California walnuts. It seems as if this is what the folk who are working with this area would like to see us to achieve. And since there is no opposition to that, I would support the effort that seemingly is something that Commissioner Villegas would like to recommend. Thank you, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Appreciate that too. Echo that. I also support what my colleague, Commissioner Villegas, has recommended. And so with that, any other things to consider, Dr. Campos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick point of clarification. The two amendments that I'm hearing is one from Commissioner Villegas to replace the condition to indicate the replacement would be 12 Southern California black walnut trees ranging from 5 to 15 gallons, and we would strike out the entire conditions that's noted on page 2 of the report. In addition to that, number 2 amendment is the trees that are being removed. I believe Mr. Benuel has indicated that it's tree number 780. Is it 789 versus 787? On page 3 of the report.
Yeah, hey, Fernando, Sector. Yeah, it'll be tree number 786.
786.
Yes, that'll be removed.
So on page
787 was 787 was an error.
So on page 3 of the report, last paragraph, the 3 trees to be removed are 791, 784, and 786.
That is correct.
That's the second amendment.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Campos. Mr. Jordan.
Yes, thank you. I'll see if I can figure out how to lower that raised hand now that I'm speaking. So just a friendly request to really more staff. So what they've attached in your report, which you have before you, are copies of the notices of exemption that were previously filed after the Department of City Planning found these projects, the 2 homes, to be exempt. And so the staff is recommending that this board find the project be exempt for essentially the same reason. However, because we've made a minor modification here, and we're specifying that the tree replacements be Southern California black walnut and not oak trees, I would request, or recommend that the board request, that when the new notices of exemption are prepared to reflect that this board would be finding the projects to be exempt, that the project description be modified in the notices of exemption so it accurately reflects but the tree replacements are black walnuts. If you look into that transmittal, and I apologize, I don't have the transmittal number in front of me, you'll see that it was described as the tree removals that were mentioned in the project description, which is appropriate, but it says they're being replaced with the coast live oak. So in this case, if the board is replacing the black walnuts with the in-kind, then it would the notice of exemption would want to accurately describe the project. So as these things go, it's a fairly minor revision, but nevertheless, the project description should always be accurate. So it would be my recommendation. Also, I think one of the two notices of exemption talks about 2 trees being removed. There's 1 tree on one property and 2 trees on the other. So that type of cleanup should be made as well, so that the bottom line is the project description for the notice of exemption that reflects this board's determination that the project is exempt, or the projects, it's really just one project, 2 homes, is accurate. So Hector, get it all cleaned up before it gets recorded.
Great. Do we need to make any
Mr.
modifications?
Jordan, would that be an amendment to transmittal number 6?
Yeah, well, transmittal number 6, no, you're not amending it. That just reflects the notice of exemption that was recorded after the Department of City Planning. There's really no amendment necessary. The board,
So it's like a request.
It's a request. So a new notice of exemption would typically be recorded once this board finds a project is exempt. And so the new notice of exemption should accurately reflect the project, which is the removal of the 3 trees in total, with the replacement with all black walnut trees. We don't want to just blindly re-record what the Department of City Planning caused to be created, because we've made a slight change here.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jordan, for that. I appreciate that. That was one of the big questions. So, Mr. Bañuelos, your team will clean up all of that wording and make sure that we have the 12 black, let me get it right, because I don't, black walnuts going back into that property, right?
Commission President, this is the architect. Can I just interject? Just want to report to you that the developer has had difficulty connecting. That's why I was surprised, and he just called me on my landline to let me know that he was trying to be in the meeting but failed to do it.
Okay, is he going to be able to log in, or can you take an answer from him and relay that message to us?
I can get him on the other line. It's basically the question is the switch, the change of replacement trees from half and half walnut and oak to all walnut. I'm not sure if he's done research on it and with his arborist and had other reasons, as I mentioned, that would have been the reason that this was decided to be on the basis of 50-50. I don't know why he can't get online, because I had no trouble. So I don't know.
Right. We always like to be very thorough and make sure that everybody, like Commissioner Villegas said, make sure that everybody gets a chance to say their part and their piece. I
can call him, Mr. President, and see if on the speaker he could be heard. Is that okay?
Madam Chair, one option that your board could consider is we can table this item, let the applicant sign in so that we can consider other items. I believe President Good is on his way back, and we can consider other items and then allow the applicant to dial in. If the applicant does not dial in before the end of the meeting, then your board can make a decision, or you can continue the item.
Got it. Commissioner Villegas, I'm going to ask you for your...
That's fine. Yeah, let's just table it. Just allow a little bit more time for the developer to either get on or have the architect communicate, just to give them one last opportunity, and then we'll just come back to it.
Exactly.
I understand that we can do it on our own authority, just giving him a couple more minutes, and then we'll take up another item and we can come back to it.
I agree. Definitely agree with Commissioner Villegas. So we're going to table this, move on to other items, and before we close today's meeting, we'll come back to this item and make sure we have a determination on this. Very well. Thank you so much. And now, transferring the virtual gavel back to President Good.
You're on mute.
Hi, folks. Sorry for the absence and delay, but you were in invariably abler hands than mine. So thank you, Vice President Garcia. If I'm correct in terms of where we've made progress, I think what I'd like to do is go back now to item number 2 on the agenda. Item number 2 is from the Bureau of Sanitation, and this is it's a report, Solid Resources Program Cost Management Measures, Fiscal Year 2021 Green Waste Residential Program, recommending the board receive and file this report in as much as it is presented to the board for information purposes only. However, it is a very important report. So with that is, who is here presenting? I see Dan Myers is here. I see Eva Sung is here.
I'm here. Yeah,
Ms. Eva Sung will present item number 2. Really quick before Ms. Sung presents her item, if any member from the general public's on the line that would like to make any commentary on item number 2, if you can please raise your hand by pressing *9 at this time. Item number 2, if you'd like to make any comments, please press *9 at this time. Seeing no comments, Mr. President, I'll go ahead and turn it back to Ms. Sung.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Ms. Sung. Hey, Mr. Myers.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, I'm here to present for information only the Solid Resources Program Cost Management Measure for 2021. Just to provide some background information on the LA Sands Solid Resources Program, the program was fully funded by the general fund before 1982. And after that, the city started charging a small fee, that is the sanitation equipment charge, to the customers, and so that we can partially offset some of the costs from the general fund. And for 26 years after 1982, there were a series of small increase to the SCC fee to offset the cost from the general fund. Then in 2008, the city made a decision to convert the Solid Resources Program to a full cost recovery program funded entirely by the service fee of the program. So then the fee is then officially renamed to Solid Resources Fee, and it was set at $32 per month for single family customers and $24.23 for multifamily customers. And when this fee becomes full cost recovery, LA Sand make a commitment to be hyper diligent and vigilant in being a responsible custodian of the fund and maximize the value of each dollar that is coming in as revenue. And we kept our commitment by keeping the cost low in the program, also leverage the external funding such as state or federal grants. And we were able to maintain the rate starting in 2008 for 12 years until now, absorbing cost escalation in every element of the program. Just the inflation alone, it has been over 23% by itself. The cost, for example, for our refuse collection truck has increased from $250,000 to about $420,000 each unit. We used to be able to collect money from the sales of the recyclables. We collect about $25 per ton in revenue, and now we have to pay $60 per ton to process our recyclables. So having reached the maximum yield of how far we could stretch the value of our solid resources fee, we have planned to present a trash fee rate adjustment case toward the first quarter of 2020, which is March of 2020. However, as all you know, because of the pandemic and the economic crisis after that, it has to be deferred. LSM then quickly went into a cost containment mode, and which quickly also evolved into a cost reduction mode. However, we established a goal to stay within our fiscal means within this fiscal year, being mindful that our rate stabilization and operation reserve would be depleted in the course of this fiscal year. And also with an estimated budget deficit of $14 million at the end of the fiscal year. Recognizing the difficulty and the ramification of further cutting a program that was already operating really leanly, we then, asked for the help and the participation of multiple members of the city family to be involved to help us to identify options. We have created this cost containment, cost management review committee, which include the mayor's office, the council president's office, the HR council committee chair, the budget finance committee chair, as well as President Good here, and the CAO and CLA to help us to identify different options. Concurrently, internally, LASN also have labor management committee assembled to identify cost reduction option as well. For these two committee, we have three fundamental guiding principles that are adopted as boundary that would help to respect, to the last extent as possible. So number one is that we do not want to impact the basic and essential service to our residents and ratepayers. The second one is that we do not want to obligate any loss of jobs in the solid resources program. And the last one is that any of the savings that we identify, it needs to be guaranteed or have a high degree of certainty of yield in the current fiscal year. The working group imposed a deadline of December 2020 to identify options that can be executable immediately. So after a great deal of deliberation, the city working group identified one single cost reduction option that could yield us fiscal balance in this fiscal year. That is to defer the implementation of the food waste in Greenways residential program for 1 year, or until such time as the solid resources program can afford it. So originally, LASN has planned for the citywide rollout of a mixed stream collection program where the residents can mix their food waste in the same green bins that they, put in their greenways. The program has been piloted for roughly about 20,000 homes distributed across the city in all council districts. This is, we have the pilot in anticipation of the state mandated, the mandates contained in primarily SB 1383. So the proposed rollout was estimated at about $17 million for this fiscal year. However, because the pilot project has not been fully analyzed, and the requirement and the ramification of the implementation of SB 1383 was not really fully vetted yet. So not a single dollars of this $17 million has been expended at this time. So by deferring this rollout, it would not impact the basic service and also the existing job of our workforce. At the same time, it will help to eliminate the cash deficit of the $14 million and actually leave us with a nominal $3 million at the end of the year as contingency. A little background on the SB 1383. It was adopted in 2016 to address the methane emission reduction statewide. The law was established to achieve a 50% reduction in the level of the statewide disposal of organic waste by 2020 and 75% by 2025. The regulation to support this legislation were developed by CalRecycle and recently adopted in November of 2020. This regulation is extremely comprehensive and far-reaching. with very prescriptive requirement for implementation of numerous program elements. These include organic waste collection services and recycling, edible food waste recovery, procurement of recovered organic waste toward a circular economy, ordinance and policies, education and outreach, enforcement and penalties, record keeping and reporting, capacity planning. Item number 1 here is of particular relevance to this board report, which is the organic waste collection service and recycling program, which require LASAN to implement curbside organic waste collection, adding food waste in some fashion to the existing green waste collection system. The jurisdictional compliance is required by January 1st of 2020, which is next year. CalRecycle, however, has indicated in the meeting with LASAN that they're willing to work with us, knowing all these very prescriptive requirements. They're willing to work with us on the extension of the implementation timeframe within the established parameters prior to their initial enforcement actions and penalties. So for the remainder of 2021, LASAN will diligently pursue a list of the action items regarding the SB 1383. First, we'll work with CalRecycle on a time extension to give the city give the city time to build the financial capacity to comply with SB 1383. We'll also evaluate the SB 1383 given the very prescriptive mode of implementation, whether this is going to be considered as a state-imposed unfunded mandate. We'll also complete the comprehensive analysis of the pilot program to note the cost-benefit analysis and the public health implications. We also need to understand the impacts to our own in-basin green waste composting facility at Lopez, which is not permitted at this time for mixed green waste and the food waste composting. We will also see regulatory congruency in what constitute green waste. And on top of that, we'll conduct a more updated strategic planning process to focus on green waste and organics. So here we want to express our appreciation for the city partners that participated in our city work group and our labor management in finding a resolution to the anticipated budget deficit for the fiscal year 2021. So I can answer any of the questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Song. Would just echo that there was a very thorough and comprehensive process to come to this, I would posit, sort of tortured conclusion and solution on the part of LASAN. This was not taken lightly or with any sort of enthusiasm, to say the very least. It is an unfortunate and practical and financial reality. Yeah, I would echo that. This was a tough process with no good answers. I mean, literally no good answers. Colleagues, I'll open it up. Do we have questions or thoughts? Vice President Garcia?
No questions from me. What we're doing is we're just receiving and filing this report, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no action for us.
Got it. Thank you.
President Pro Tem Davis? Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions either, Ms. Sung. That was a really thorough report. I know I've been following a little bit of the issues just on this topic, but it's super comprehensive, and I really appreciate just your thoroughness. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Commissioner Colosa?
Thank you, President Good. I just want to say thank you, Ms. Sung, for a very thorough report. You made Mr. Myers' job really easy today. He just got to sit pretty and watch you give this very thorough report. I really appreciate the time and effort that you all took to put this board report together for what is essentially an oral report. I know you wanted to really be transparent and share what's going on with your operations and kind of just detail the level of complexity and process that you've gone through to come to this determination, even though we're really sad to see the deferral of the organics pilot program. That said, I think everything that you outlined in your report, makes sense with everything that you're all trying to balance with your budget and your workforce. And it doesn't impact any other operations right now. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the report, outlines when you all do the assessment of this pilot, because I know it's an area that I think many of us are excited about that LA San is heading towards in terms of this organics and composting world. I guess the only question that I really had for you and Mr. Myers is, do we know for this deferral, is it just anticipated right now for this one fiscal year, or and then it's going to be revisited depending on what's going on financially with the city, or is it kind of just paused indefinitely for now?
I think I can answer to that question. I think with the current financial status of the sport fund, without the rate adjustment, we probably have to defer it, until there is financially, stable. I mean, the financial stability is resumed. But at the same time, it also depends on the amount of time that we can get, the time extension that we can get from CalRecycle.
And then this pilot, the 20,000 homes are in the pilot now. They're still allowed to continue with the organics pilot, right? Like, we're not just going to revoke that pilot. We're going to actually see it through and finish it.
Yes, we'll finish it. Yes.
Okay. And then just remind me again, when will that pilot finish?
Ben, do you have the answer for that?
Actually, the pilot is going to just continue. I don't believe we have a stop date on it right now. Our goal is to continue to learn from the pilot. So, a lot of effort went into changing behavior. So we don't want to just pull that out and then pause and then bring it back, at a later date. So right now we don't have a scheduled end date. We continue to want the residents to participate in the program as we continue to learn from it.
It's helpful to know. I look forward to seeing how this unfolds with your team, and I agree that definitely don't want to undo any of the good work that you're all doing with this 20,000 households participating in your pilot, especially since most people are spending their time at home. So if anything, it's probably the perfect time to do the pilot, since they're there cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner for most people. But I don't have any other questions, but thank you both again for your efforts on updating the board and for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. So thank you, Ms. Sung. Thank you, Dan, very much for the report. We'll look forward to continue tracking. There's obviously subsequent big decisions to make, as highlighted by Commissioner Villegas and Commissioner Colosa's questions. So we will anticipate and expect to be kept apprised moving forward. And thank you for the report, and thank you for the update. I know council has been briefed as well. So yeah, thanks. So without any other questions, do we, Dr. Campos, do we need to entertain a motion to move this to receive and file, or do we just receive and file?
Just a motion. Yes, please, a motion to receive and file this item.
All right, I'll motion to receive and file. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any objections from Vice President Garcia, Commissioner Closer, President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me.
All right. Thank you so much. This item is officially received and filed. Colleagues, that brings us to, let's come to item number 4. Item 4, is it important, Dr. Campos, I'll just read the recommendations into the record. I'm not going to read the table. Yes, Commissioner Villegas.
I have a question. Can we go back to item number 3 to close that out? Before you left, sorry to interrupt. Before you came back, we had just a question for the developer, and he was trying to log in. Can we just go back to that item?
Is the developer
just take a vote and close it out?
Is the developer here?
I'm not sure.
Dr. Campos?
I can check if the board would like to take this item 3 now.
Is the staff who's representing that item here?
I just need clarity. Are you taking item 3?
Hold on, Dr. Campos. Was the point that there's someone calling in, a developer to call in? So I'm fine with going to item 3 per Commissioner Villegas' request if the developer's here. Otherwise,
correct. I agree.
So,
sure, I can call for the developer, Mr. Gary Misirian, GMX Investment Company. Are you on the line? If you are, can you please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone? GMX Investment Company, the applicant or the arborist on item number 3?
Yes, this is Gary Misirian. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
So, Vice President Garcia, I'm going to hand it back to you, this item, since I was not a part of the previous conversation.
Okay.
And I'll take it back over after y'all.
Thank you so much, President Good. What is your name, Mr.? I know you're a developer, but I want to make sure I call you by your name.
The first name is Gary.
Sorry, Gary, can I interrupt? I just want to make sure that we are now, your board is considering item 3 at this point in time?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. President, I'm just going to go ahead and, I won't read all the recommendation, but the Board of Public Works is now considering item 3 at this time, which is the tree removal at 8305 and 8329 North Shirley Avenue. Please go ahead, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Campos. I know we're kind of all over the place today, but that's just, okay, it's February 2021. All right, Mr. Gary, you are now on the line. We had left off item number 3 regarding to confirm with you to see if we can, instead of splitting black, and let me get it straight here so I have my, instead of having 6 black walnut trees and 6 oak trees, Commissioner Villegas has posted the position if we can just make all 12 black walnut trees. Commissioner Villegas, did I state that how you?
That is correct, yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Making the change from 6 black walnuts and 6 coast live oak to all 12 black walnuts.
Mr. Gary.
Okay. Yes, my name is Gary Misirian. I am the builder, the developer. I appreciate Commissioners your time and your assistance. I have been listening to the meetings from the very first minute, but for some reason I've been dialing *9 or *6. I was unable to get connected. It turns out to be that I had dialed the phone numbers which are on the agenda, that is just to listen to the meetings rather than participating in the meetings. So that was my mistake. I apologize. But I was listening to all the conversations that you had and your recommendation as to plant 12 black walnut trees instead of having 6 and 6. I have no objection to it. The only concern I have is
if we plant them all of the same species, if there is any disease, then all of them will be diseased. But if we mix them up, then we have a better chance of saving and prolonging the life of protected species. That's only comment that I would like to have. And I concur that the recommendation of correcting the three numbers that are going to be removed are 791, 784, and 786, as Mr. Banuelos pointed out.
Thank you so much. Mr. Banuelos, would you like to just answer Mr. Mysterian's doubt of putting all 12 black walnut trees?
Well, yes, that's always a concern of ours when we're planting just one species that there's no diversity there. And so, yes, he's correct. If there's an insect there or indoor disease, then it does risk potential loss of all trees as opposed to just some.
Thank you for that. Okay, Commissioner Villegas?
I think we should call the vote. I think we've had enough. Thank you, Mr. Gary Mysterian, for joining us today, and we appreciate your comments. I'm glad you were able to call in. I think we have enough information now just to call the vote.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mysterian and Mr. Banuelos, for being here on the line. Is there a motion to move this item forward amended by Commissioner Villegas' amendments? Do you want to read that out loud so that we're all clear what we're doing? Dr. Campos?
Absolutely. Two amendments are being proposed. The first amendment is for the tree replacements to be 12 Southern California black walnut trees at the size of 5 to 15 gallon. The second amendment is to clarify on page 4 of the report, the last paragraph, that the 3 trees to be removed are 791, 784, and 786. Those would be the two amendments.
Thank you for that. Is there a motion to move this item forward?
As amended.
As
amended, yeah. So moved.
Moved. I'll second that motion. And with that, any objections? Commissioner Calosa or Commissioner Dr. Davis? I hear no objections from Dr. Davis. Like, I'm reading your lips.
Thank you. You're correct.
Perfect. Commissioner Calosa?
I'm good, no objections.
Okay, hearing no objections. President Good, any objections from your side? No objections. Thank you so much. Hearing no objections, this item is now adopted and sent forthwith. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas, for leading this conversation, and Mr. Mysterian, Mr. Banuelos, and everybody else that was here for item number 3.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, President Good, back to you.
Let's go to item 4, colleagues. Item 4 is an advisement. It is a report back on graffiti photos. On July 28th, 2020, the Office of Community Beautification was requested by the Board of Public Works to provide information regarding Office of Community Beautification graffiti removal contractors uploading before-after photos of each graffiti abatement job into the MyLA 311 database. This report back recommends the board: 1, adopt the proposed graffiti abatement photo and metric pilot concept. 2, approve the following criteria on which locations should be submitted with a photograph, preferably using the field application, i.e. ServiceNow. A, locations which the graffiti removal crews can safely take photos without concerns of being retaliated against by local gangs or tagging crews or homeless encampments. Crew safety should remain the #1 priority when considering whether to take a photo of a graffiti abatement location. Therefore, discretion must be used by each individual contractor in consultation with the Office of Community Beautification. B, locations which have been submitted as a request for service via the MyLA 311 system. Requests which have been submitted with a before photo of the graffiti shall have an after photo whenever possible. C, locations which the square footage of graffiti exceeds 50 square feet, may have some type of investigative value to law enforcement or is a high impact graffiti tagger in a particular area. On a citywide basis, the average graffiti abatement job is 102 square feet, but this varies depending upon the service area. For example, in Boyle Heights, the average square footage for a graffiti removal job is 147 square feet. And in Sylmar, the average square footage per location is 35 square feet. Using 50 square feet as a minimum base should allow for enough locations to be photographed. 3, approve the proposed pilot program implementation rollout schedule as follows. A, contractors will utilize the field application, i.e. ServiceNow, to close out work in the field and to upload photos when a location meets the above criterion. All field crews will have access to using the field application by end of the current fiscal year in June 2021. B, implement the pilot program in 4 phases and divide the contractors into 3 groups to allow for OCB staff to provide technical assistance and support where needed. C, phase 1, roll out in March 2021 with 3 contractors, the Los Angeles Conservation Corps, Koreatown Youth and Community Center, and Gang Alternatives Program. D, phase 2, roll out in May 2021 with 4 contractors, the Central City Action Committee, West Valley Alliance, New Directions for Youth, and Pacific Graffiti Solutions. And E, phase 3, roll out in July 2021 with 5 contractors, Coalition for Responsible Community Development, Northeast Graffiti Busters, Hollywood Beautification Team, Sylmar Graffiti Busters, and Graffiti Control Systems. And 4, instruct the Office of Community Beautification to report back within 60 days on potential performance management metrics and process and program improvements that can be considered to enhance the concept of the pilot program. This was originally heard on Friday, October 30th, 2020, continued again to Friday, January 8th, 2021, and then again to Friday, January 15th, 2021. That brings us to today. So, colleagues, let's start with questions. Commissioner Villegas.
Mr. President, would you like to consider public comments on this item?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that we do have some. Yes, please.
We may have some. I just don't know just yet. Members of the general public that are joining the Board of Public Works today, item number 4 is being considered the report back for graffiti photos. If you would like to provide any commentary on item number 4, can you please press *9 at this time to raise your hand? Again, members of the general public that are joining us to the Board of Public Works special meeting, item number 4 is being considered. If you'd like to make any commentary, please raise your hand by pressing *9 at this time. Mr. President, we have it looks like 2 comments. The first caller is caller ending in 267. Caller ending in 267, please press *6 at this time to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak on item number 4.
Hi, I believe I'm unmuted.
Yes,
you
please
are.
Go ahead.
Great. Tom Weisbarth here from Sylmar Graffiti Busters. We saw a demo of this app, and it's clearly going to take some time out in the field to do this reporting. At some point, we're probably going to have to consider either, more staff out there or slower response times. I'd like to suggest that the item 4, report back in 60 days, either there could be more reports back, or at least move that out into phase 2 or 3. That 60 days puts it really just 2/3 of the way through the phase 1, which is only 3 contractors and only 25 to 50%. If we want to see what the real impacts are going to be, we should have either more contractors or more work being uploaded so that we can see what it's really going to do. So I'd just like to suggest that something's going to have to give down the road, and we need to see how bad that impact is going to be. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and I shouldn't miss this. Dr. Campos, what contractor did the...
Silmar.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We have one last caller, Mr. Brian McNeil. You raised your hand for item number 4. Please go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time to press star 6 to unmute your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak. Go ahead. Your microphone's unmuted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Brian McNeil. So I just want to say how unauthorized and illegal graffiti impacts the city, and also how, like, I live with my aunt. She's 95 years old, and I help to take care of her. And these graffiti artists, they're gang members, they're transients. They come and they deface the homes of our neighbors. And this is like right across the street. For example, one instance has been right across the street from a public school, from Barack Obama middle school. And so what they do is they continue writing on people's houses and homes. But I just want to say, like, I'm really grateful for 311 and the mayor's office and everyone at the Department of Public Works, because response time has been pretty reasonable, considering like we've had some instances where people were tagging in the alleyways and writing on people's walls. And I reported through 311, and I would say within about a week or two, someone was there to respond and to clean up the graffiti. And so I just want to just hats off to the city and the Department of Public Works for that, and for that great work that's being done with graffiti, illegal graffiti. It really impacts the city and the way the neighbors in the neighborhood looks and feels when these graffiti artists are defacing our homes. And so I would like to see at some point increased fines and penalties against these graffiti artists who are doing illegal graffiti and defacing the homes of our neighbors and across the city of Los Angeles. And that's all I want to say. So I yield my time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Mr. President, that clears the deck for commentary on item number 4.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Thank you.
Do we need to hear, sorry to interrupt.
I thought so too. Yeah, do we need to hear Mr. Roach's report?
Oh, goodness. Yes, I'm sorry.
You leave the meeting for a few, minutes, and then you forget decorum.
I lost my entire sense of purpose and self. Director of Office of Community Beautification, not to be forgotten and not to be ignored. Paul Roberts. Paul, why don't you kick us off here? I'm really sorry.
Almost forgotten. So that's.
Well, I read the recommendations took me off guard there.
I mean, President Good, you read most of my reports, so I'm not with all those recommendations. So I will skip over that part in the interest of time. But good afternoon, happy Friday. Paul Roach, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. As mentioned, we are coming to the board this afternoon with a follow-up report just regarding the feasibility of OCB graffiti removal contractors uploading photos of their work into the MyLA 311 database. Just to put it in context, over the past year, these contractors removed 28 million square feet of graffiti from over 505,000 locations across the city of Los Angeles. About 27% of the work that they performed was a result of a request for service, while the remaining amount was proactively removed. Photos of the work performed by contractors obviously will assist OCB in validating work that the contractor state has been performed, and can also serve as confirmation should there ever be any questions by a constituent or somebody reporting a request for service as to whether the abatement did happen. The potential trade-off could be the amount of time that it may take to upload photos and whether there's value in that trade-off. This proposed pilot program will provide us with some of that valuable information in this respect. First off, I do want to acknowledge the assistance of Commissioners Garcia and Caloza, as well as Executive Officer Campos, in helping to dive into this issue, hold several meetings, and look at some of the complexities of the whole issue involved. We did hold meetings with representatives of ITA to discuss various issues related to the graffiti database, as well as a new field application that will allow the contractors to close out requests from the field and upload photos, as opposed to doing so at the end of the day. We also held a meeting with OCB contractors to get their feedback on the uploading of photos and the use of the field application, and met with OCB staff to seek their input and thoughts on various ways of managing graffiti removal validation. With all that being said, the criteria is read by President Good for a pilot project will test out the success of uploading photos and closing out requests in the field. I'm not going to repeat all the particular recommendations again. As mentioned, we are looking at rolling this out in various phases so that different contractors would be rolled in 3 or 4 at a time. But the goal is to, within 3 months of them starting with the project, that they would be uploading at least 50% photos into the MILE 311 database for those locations that meet the criteria, and within 6 months of whenever they start doing so with 100% photos. Again, this is related to request for service, so it's not necessarily all of the proactive work that they were doing, but those where a request was submitted. There is some cost to the field application, as there is a $180 per year for the license. OCB has already purchased 20 of these licenses, and they've been being used by our various contractors. We are in the process of obtaining an additional 70 licenses so that all field crews will have that capability. Those licenses will be available by the middle of March, and OCB will be coordinating training with the contractors to ensure that they know how to utilize the field application. And finally, this project is also helps us get into compliance with Mayor's Executive Directive number 29, which does request city departments and contractors to provide more digital and contactless services whenever possible. I believe that captures the highlights of the report, and now open to any questions or comments that commissioners may have. Thank you.
All right, now for the third time, Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Third time's a charm. Thank you, Mr. Raj, for your report, and thank you, Commissioner Caloza and Garcia, for working on this important issue. I really like establishing a pilot project such as this, just to be able to gather information. Obviously, data will give us, more direction in terms of, where some of those hotspots are, even though we may already know them, but it could provide additional information to fine-tune our graffiti program some more. I know that, the mayor's directive is very, key, and just in terms of bringing all of our programs just up to the 21st century, and just trying to make it more digital. I know that Streets LA does that just with every single tree that is now GPS mapped, identified. All of our projects are also online. And our field staff have actual tablets with them to be able to communicate immediately with 311. So our staff is able to monitor progress after storms, after disasters, anything that happens out in the field. So this is going to be in line with that effort. And I really like this. I really commend all of you for just, bringing forward such a good program, and just, my only question, Mr. Roch, the contractor from Silmar mentioned just more time, more than the 60-day report back. I don't know if that's something that you have also considered, or that or you feel it's just enough time to be able to comply. One thing that I will say is that, for the city having purchased the equipment to have all of our contractors use and get educated on, that's a significant investment. So, thank you for doing something like that. But we do want to be able to have comprehensive information back. And I just pose that question to you if we need to have more time.
I would say 60 days is the initial report back. I do anticipate that there would be additional ones after more contractors are rolled out. Although we are looking at kind of phasing in the contractors over a period of time, there might be a situation where some of them are actually coming online with the program even before their particular time frame, because they will have the licenses to start closing out requests in the field. Probably by the end of March, they're all going to have those licenses and that capability. It's just going to be a matter of primarily focusing with the first group, making sure that they are trained, and helping troubleshoot any problems that there might be with the app or with the contractors learning out. So I think as an initial secondary report back, 60 days is okay, but I do agree that there will probably need to be a more comprehensive look at the whole thing more towards the end of the year, once all our contractors have been a part of the program, and how close we're getting to them all reaching that goal of 100% photos.
All right, thank you very much. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
No questions from me, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Vice President Garcia, would you like to, I don't know if you have any questions or any comments in general. I know you and Commissioner Calosa put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this with Paul and Dr. Campos. So any comments or anything?
No, you accurately described what we went through. Just kidding. No, I think thank you to Paul and all the contractors and Paul's shop, his personnel. We went on almost like a small listening tour to see how this can actually come about, and so I just want to thank them officially, because everybody was part of this, and there's more to come. This is one piece of the many other pieces that we want to look at, and so for now, this is kind of like part one of maybe part 3 of the stuff that we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Commissioner Calosa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Mr. Roche. We worked hand in hand on this. I want to thank him for his leadership, and of course our Vice President Garcia and Dr. Campos. I think we're a little team that spent many hours together over the course of the past few weeks to kind of formulate this and really think through, I think, a process of really getting feedback from a lot of different stakeholders, both from the city family and from our contractors to put this together. I think in terms of, the comment that was mentioned by Thomas from Silmar Graffiti Busters and the report back, I'll definitely say that, that everything that's listed here, I see it more as the floor and not the ceiling. So this is like the minimum of what we'll be doing in the coming weeks. And the part of the recommendations that talks about the 60-day report back, that's really a second component of our work. What's before us today is really the technology piece of it, is really how do we leverage technology to go contactless. In this case, doing the photo uploads will hopefully allow for less person-to-person contact for our contractors in terms of their operations behind the scene. Since one of the things that we found out in our listening session is that there's a lot of paper, for instance, that gets transferred from one staff person to another as they're giving out assignments. So this will hopefully allow them to manage this work more digitally and kind of modernize this program as a whole. And the 60-day report back is really looking at performance management and metrics. And so these are, I think, two sides of the same coin. And so I look forward to continuing our work on this. And yes, we did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this pilot program. So I appreciate the board's grace and patience on this, as I know we've continued this item a few times. But I think what's before us today is definitely a step in the right direction. So thank you, President Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. I do have a question, and this is a really dense question, so forgive. This is very obvious. But on the criteria listed in recommendation 2, are those exhaustive, or is it any one of those criteria? In other words, photos must be taken if any one of those criteria are met, or photos must be taken if all 3 criteria are met?
Commissioner Good, primarily it's all 3 that are met. First off, we definitely need crew safety to be considered. So even if a photo were to meet the over 50 square feet requirement, if the crew was in a situation where their safety was endangered for any way by taking photos, we would not require a photo in that case. So we're primarily looking at photos where a request came in, where the square footage is over 50 square feet in total, and the crew can safely take a photo.
Okay, that's really helpful. So in essence, the starting threshold is, has there been a request? Is it requested versus proactive? Which means it's really the universe of 27% that we're focusing on, at least in this pilot. Then if it has, your decision tree goes to, is it big enough? And if those 2 criteria are covered, then the pictures are taken.
Yes, that's correct. And as was mentioned, that's sort of a floor. I mean, if contractors want to upload photos of their proactive work, if they want to upload photos, of a smaller tag for any reason on the back of a stop sign or something like that, then they absolutely could still do so. But we've kind of set that criteria to give them some guidelines in this pilot program as to getting enough photos so we can really generate enough information to test out how the effectiveness of it without hopefully overwhelming them right away.
That's great. That's a really appreciative clarification there. I would just also say, while I think Commissioner Villegas' point about 60 days, or actually, excuse me, our caller from Silmar, Graffiti Busters, point about 60 days is well taken. I think it is. I would also just echo, certainly, Paul, your comment, and by extension, my expectation, which is that 60 days will be instructive, it will be informative, it will not necessarily be dispositive in terms of the efficacy of the pilot. And so I absolutely support maintaining the 60-day recommendation and look forward to the promise of subsequent reports, because I think there's going to be meaningful intermittent data points that we're going to get at 60 days, but then also obviously after 60 days as the rollout and phase out excuse me, continues. So all right, that's what I have. I would also just say thank you to Commissioner Colosa and Vice President Garcia and Dr. Campos for y'all's, dare I say it, blood, sweat, and tears on this effort and real leadership. This is creative. This really does get to how do we make sure we're getting everything that we want from this program. We have enthusiastic partners, but it's very important that we're really that we're really tracking things tight. And so I think this is really helpful and really reflective of diligent, thorough work on y'all's part. And I just really appreciate and call out y'all's leadership on this. So thank you, Fernando, Auda, Jessica, and then obviously thank you, Paul, in this process. So thank y'all. I would, do I have a motion to move this forward?
I'll move.
All right. Do I have a second, Commissioner Colosa?
Yes, I'll second.
All right. I've got a motion from Vice President Garcia, seconded by Commissioner Colosa, to move item four forward. Any objections or concerns, President Pro Tem Davis or Commissioner Villegas?
None.
I'll take that as no, President Pro Tem Davis. Okay. Hearing no objections, the item is adopted forthwith. Really look forward to hearing about progress. Thank you all. And excellent work. All right. Item 5 has been continued. I think that brings us to
item 9.
Item 9. I was going to get there, Fernando. Item 9. And I bet you Greg Spots is chomping at the bit. And I apologize, Greg. Are you still there? And Rose is here. Actually, we lost Greg. I see Stephanie's here. Rose is here. Hi, y'all. Sorry, this is just one of those meetings and one of those days. Item 9, and also an exciting and appropriate item, not inconsistent with some of our thinking around item 7, the last business day, as it were, of African American Heritage Month. This is, I think, a very exciting one. Item 9 is an AFE for Creative Paving Solutions. Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $20,000, new adjusted amount of $40,000 to pay the installation of a permanent decorative Black Lives Matter mural at the intersection of 7th Avenue and Westminster Avenue in Venice. Authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney. This is AE 21000012M Fund 100 General Fund, Department number 86, Appropriation Unit 003040. Rose, are you presenting?
Yes, Commissioner, yes, President Good, I will be presenting today. Good afternoon. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So this authority for expenditure is actually for decorative pavement treatment. We're calling it a mural, but it's on the street, so it's really a pavement treatment. And it's for $20,000. Due to the time constraints and the urgency to complete this installation this month for celebrating the African American heritage, this authority for expenditure is being done retroactively. The mural was installed on February 17th, and that's really all I have. The funding source for the project was transferred to us through a council motion, so it is from Fund 480, so there is no impact on the general fund. If you have any questions, myself and Stephanie Clements are available.
So just for clarification, Rose, so the mural's been done.
Correct.
I think this is off the same contract for the street mural that was done in CD13, is that correct?
That is correct. This is the same vendor.
Okay. And then, so it's been completed, CD11 transferred money to Streets LA, and this is the AFE to encumber those funds to pay that contractor for the work that's been completed.
That is correct.
Okay, great, thank you. President Pro Tem Davis?
Yes, I think that this is money well spent given the efforts that we are having for inclusion, and I would move that we support item motion number 9 on our agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosa?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions. Rose briefed me yesterday and shared the process with me about what happened, so I appreciate their transparency in the process. And I think that aside from that, the project is a good one, and I agree with Dr. Davis's sentiments about this.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, and Vice President Garcia?
I have no questions either. Thank you for this.
All right. Well, my wife and I lived literally on that block for a number of years, and it is a amazing community. We were welcomed. Those of you, I'm sure we all know the legacy of racism in Venice is rich and profound. And that community was an island, literally, for the Black community at a time of just such overt racism. Not that it doesn't exist now, but so that I think it's a wonderful project, and so I also just zealously support this. So do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Villegas. Any concerns or questions, Vice President Garcia or Commissioner Closa?
None for me.
All right. With no objections or concerns, the item is adopted forthwith. Rose, Stephanie, once again, thanks to Streets LA for being flexible and in the moment in helping to facilitate and get this very cool project done.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everyone.
And thanks for waiting. Yeah, have a great weekend. All right, colleagues. I think we are now to. I think all of our business items are covered. We are now on to. We are now on to our oral reports. Let's start with item 10. Item 10 is our weekly update on major upcoming street improvement projects. Who do we have from Streets LA for that today?
Mr. President, you have Mr. Antonio Becerra.
Oh, Antonio, we get to look at his jerseys. Hey, Antonio. Today we got his Dodger wall. I think last time it was his Laker wall, wasn't it?
I hope you know that President Good wants a room just like yours.
I mean,
I know. I remember from last time. I'm inviting the whole commissioners when we have a barbecue when it's ready to go.
Man, you need to. You're gonna. I'm straight up holding you accountable, right? You don't get to do more oral reports. We're coming.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Antonio.
Good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Antonio Becerra, Jr., Superintendent with Streets LA. In order to keep the public informed on all the upcoming resurfacing projects, and to minimize the impact on the community, as well as the delays to the commuters, Streets LA would like to provide you with an update on all major upcoming street improvement projects. The following projects are scheduled as follows. In the Metro Resurfacing Region, during the week of February 28th, 2021 through March 6th, 2021, there will be no major street projects scheduled. However, the Metro region will complete 14 projects for a total of 6.4 lane miles. In the Valley Resurfacing Region, during the week of February 28th, 2021 through March 6th, 2021, there will be no major street projects scheduled. However, the Valley region will complete 11 projects for a total of 5.9 lane miles. Press releases were broadcasted, work notifications have been issued, and Streets LA has coordinated with the Council District's office to assist with the outreach to stakeholders. We have also coordinated with the Los Angeles Department of Transportation for traffic control assistance. This concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Antonio. President Pro Tem Davis, any questions?
No question for me on this item.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Closa?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas?
None for me either. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice President Garcia?
None from me either. Thank you.
All right. I don't have any questions, Antonio. Thank you very much. Very thorough. And go Lakers.
You guys have a great day and a great weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend, Antonio. Thank you. All right, folks. That brings us to item 11. Item 11 is contracts expiring within 90 days. I see Nancy Lanton with us. And who else is with us today?
Mr. President, the Bureau of Engineering, the Bureau of Contract Administration, and the Bureau of Street Lighting do not have any updates, no contracts that are expiring, so nothing to report. We do have Miss Nancy Lanton from Bureau of Sanitation and then Stephanie Clements from the Bureau of Street Services.
Great. Nancy, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nancy Lanton. I work in the contracts group at LA Sanitation. For my monthly report for this month, sanitation does have 11 contracts expiring within the next 120 days. 9 of these contracts are for our as-needed consultant services for the implementation of LA San's automation master plan. So these are our on-call contracts for our control systems. We do have a 1-year renewal option on this contract, which we are going to exercise, as well as preparing an amendment to extend the term of all of these contracts. The other contract that we are going to be renewing is with USA Waste of California, DBA Waste Management. This is a contract for receipt, processing, and reuse of green material, food material, and or horse manure from the city's curbside collection program. That contract is expiring May 17th, 2021, and we are proposing a 3-year renewal option as well as an amendment to extend those services. And then we do have one contract that will not be renewed. That is with City Fibers. That's expiring May 31st, 2021. City Fibers processes and markets our residential recyclable materials, so our blue bin materials. We are executing new contracts for those services from an RFP process that we started last year, and that will be come before the board shortly. And that concludes my report for this month. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Nancy, could you just repeat the USA Waste one again? That's Waste Management?
Yeah, that's the one for green material, food material. That one is expiring May 17th, 2021. So there is a renewal option in that contract. So we are proposing to renew it for 3 years.
And we haven't seen that yet.
Not yet. No, we are preparing that board report right now.
And that's okay. And that's full green waste processing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions?
None for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, Teresa, please. Ms. Commissioner.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were calling on everybody.
I was going in the group.
No worries, no worries. Just a quick question. The last item you said that City Fiber, you're not renewing that contract because you're putting it out for RFP. Can City Fiber apply, or can they bid on the RFP?
Yes, I believe so. There.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm getting feedback.
I can hear you.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, we are in negotiations with proposers from that RFP process.
Okay, but it doesn't preclude City Fiber from applying?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? VP Garcia, Commissioner Closa? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lanton, very much.
Welcome. Thanks. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Clements.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hello.
Happy Friday.
Happy
Can you
Friday.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, fantastic. Stephanie Clements, Streets LA Administration, Streets LA has one contract expiring within 90 days. It's a professional services contract for pavement, roadway, assessment, and survey services. The contract expires May 24th, 2021. This is an ongoing service that we need to assess the condition of our roads, and therefore we do need to continue this service beyond the contract expiration date. To expedite the contracting process, Streets LA staff are currently vetting a piggybacking opportunity with another vendor and will be meeting shortly with our city attorney, Mr. Ted Jordan, and then returning to the board with a contract award recommendation this spring. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Who's the contractor again, Stephanie?
It's Fugro.
Okay. And this is for the contract for, is this the contract where they do the PSI or
correct. They do the PCI, which stands for Pavement Condition Index, and that provides the grade of each street. So we've had a 3-year contract with Fugro, and now the contract's expiring, and we're going to pursue a new vendor at this time.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any questions, colleagues? VP Garcia?
No questions. Thank you, Stephanie. I like that you're out and about. Makes me want to go outside too. So nice. Happy Friday.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, where are you?
You know, I'm actually at Yvonne Brathwaite Burke Park in Marina Del Rey. I live a mile or so away, and that is what's nice with some of these meetings where you're really not an active participant. You can kind of just walk around and still be at the meeting. So yeah, I'm trying to get out wherever possible, right? Got to try to keep sane somehow.
Nice.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm okay. No questions from me.
Okay. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I have no questions either. Enjoy your weekend, Stephanie.
President Pro Tem Davis? No questions? You're on mute.
Oh, right. No questions for me. Thanks, President.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Closer? No? You're muted.
Oh man, I never do that. So. Okay, well, it has to happen sometime. But no questions from me. But appreciate Ms. Clements making us all jealous here now. So excited for the weekend. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a beautiful one.
Yeah. No questions for me, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend. Okay. Thank you. All right, folks. The Patience Award goes to Erica Blyther here for item 12 and not even outside. So Erica is going to give us our OP&A safety update, and it's all yours, Erica. Hi.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Great. Now, I believe there was a public speaker. I'm not sure if they're still on the line.
Oh, that's right. Dr. Campos, is there a public comment on the item?
There is. Dr. Tom Williams, I believe, is on the line. Dr. Williams, are you still on the line with us? Or should I say any members of the general public that are still with us to the Board of Public Works? The Board of Public Works is now considering the last item on the agenda, which is item number 12. If you'd like to speak on this item, you can please press star 9 at this time to raise your hand. Again, general public comments. Public commentary on item number 12. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 12. If you'd like to speak on this item, please press star 9 at this time. Seeing no raised hands, Mr. President, no caller on the line on 12, but I believe Dr. Williams did express 12 earlier on in the meeting.
I think you're right. I think Erica's memory is impressive. With that, please go ahead. Good afternoon.
Now, you all might win the Patience Award because I just made a full-on presentation for you. Can I share my?
Yes.
Can I share my screen, Fernando? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
You should get an invite right now coming your way in a couple of seconds. If you now scroll to the bottom of your screen,
yes,
you should.
I see it.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. Did I press it? Yes. Okay. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so here's the beginning. Well, thank you all for hosting this and allowing me to speak. I did not get to give an update in 2020, so I wanted to make sure I gave a thorough update to everyone in 2021. There was a few different things that happened. Recently, there was an article in LA Times talking about why there are oil wells all over Southern California. That was in January. And the reason why is that the LA area is rich in oil. It has been always, and it continues to be. So the city of Los Angeles has 26 oil fields and approximately 5,229 oil and gas wells within the city boundaries. And that includes the active and inactive ones, but there have been a lot of production. The picture you see is from the article, but it's actually the Inglewood oil field. So that's in LA County, not in the city of Los Angeles, but very close to city residents. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about that as we go on. So the Los Angeles Geologic Basin has one of the highest concentrations of crude oil per acre in the world. The city and surrounding areas in Orange and Los Angeles counties have thousands of oil-bearing sandstone rock formations. In 1892, Edward Doheny and Charles Canfield drilled the first successful oil well in the city of Los Angeles. It's the Los Angeles City Oil Field, and it's modern-day Echo Park. Their discovery set up a series of major oil discoveries in the 1900s and led to the city's first major population boom. So the oil has always been with us, and this is a picture from 1905, and you can see the oil derricks in the foreground and many, many, many in the background. So this was downtown LA, but Venice looked like this. Many parts of the city looked like this when oil was discovered. Even after more than a century of prolific production, the U.S. Geological Survey estimates 1.6 billion barrels of recoverable oil remain in place beneath the city. So that rivals the reserves that are in the Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. This is a map showing some of the oil fields, and you can see that there are numerous ones in the Southern California basin. So some of the accomplishments and work that's happened has been that we've done a number of things in terms of petroleum administration. I'm going to say we because some of this is going to include work that Sonny Barbaretti of our office did. He retired in December, and also what Tamara continues to do. So in terms of petroleum administration, we have worked on a number of different report backs. One included the Aliso Canyon report back for Council File 15-1380. That was put forward by John Lee, and it was about the status of the Aliso Canyon and some of the different regulations that came out. There was also a Rancho Park motion because there was an odorant spill, and that was completed in April, and that was actually heard at the Energy Committee on November 17th. There's also continuing meetings with the drill sites at Allen Cove, and their monthly meetings. They're sometimes semi-monthly depending on what's going on, but lately they've been monthly, and there's a lot of concern by the community to this day as the site goes through somewhat of a closure. So there are updates from several different stakeholders involved. We've completed 16 drill site desk audits, and that was updated on an annual basis. So we have records that we rely on from the fire department, from several different agencies that work on the regulation of the oil and gas. There was West Pico. There are some concerns about that, and so there was a plan in place to have inspections every 5 years. That didn't occur, so there was some concern from the public, and so we got involved as a planning case, went through and listened to testimony. We participated in Rancho Park's third-party inspections and reviewing that work and making sure it met what we thought to be reasonable scientific standards, and it did. And there was also a recent California Public Records Act request for some of the work that we did pulling together those files for the desk audits. We also completed a drill site oil production report, and that has data from the 1970s to 2000. So it's interesting to see how each of the drill sites has been, how much oil has been pulled out of the ground and how productive each of the drill sites has been. And that was a large part of that work was done by Sonny Barbaretti, and he was instrumental in that. So big thanks to him on pulling together that data. It's now going to be fairly easy to update that. So just adding year by year. But he pulled together all the data from 1970s to 2020. Our pipeline franchises, as you're aware, we invoice on a regular basis. And so in 2020, we invoiced $4.7 million. We are also able to, through the support of the board, collect $50,000 in fines from 2 non-compliant insurance franchises. and we review for pipeline, bond, and insurance requirements for compliance. We are working on an upcoming long-term franchise revenue study, and we also have a lot of work on the SoCal Gas franchise. In terms of staffing, we were 6 at one point when Udawak was still here, and now we're down to 2, so that's just Tamara Martin and myself. We're providing a lot of support for projects throughout the department, or various departments ask us for help throughout the city. So that's things such as a lot of development projects. So we're working with planning, rec and parks, fire department, et cetera, as we deal with drill sites, as well as pipelines and development. As far as policy, we attend on a regular basis the Baldwin Hills Community Standards District meetings, and they have an environmental justice study steering committee that I was a member of. And it was initially a health working group, and I got involved because we in the city are doing our own type of health study. So it was important to kind of work together with the county and see what they were doing and participate with them. We also participate in the AB 617 quarterly meetings, and that's in Wilmington, Carson, West Long Beach, and also working with the California Air Resources Board on SNAPs, which is Study of Neighborhood Air and Petroleum Sources. In terms of community engagement, we continue to meet with industry as well as environmental justice agencies. So we attend the regular community steering committees at Marathon and Phillips 66, as well as have met with Californians for Energy Independence, California Independent Petroleum Association, and Valley Industry and Commerce Association. We've also met with Food and Water Watch and Stand LA. As far as pipeline abandonments go, we have a few that are upcoming: NASCO, O'Donnell, Warner, and Whittier Pipeline. So it's really important for us to get a streamlined process, and we're working with the Office of State Fire Marshal, CalGEM, as well as the Bureau of Engineering, and we're requesting budget for some of these abandonments. I'm going to go through some of the rest of this pretty quickly. We had, the controller did a review of oil and gas wells in 2018, and there were a number of recommendations. Some were related to generating revenue, which is especially important nowadays. One of those was the rental and royalties report. So there's going to be, we actually went through and did a task order, but we're going to do a full-on presentation to the board talking about rentals and royalties. And so we had Interact to conduct a study and do some research, and they're looking at both mineral and surface rights, but there are many different types of rights. And to get a full picture, we're going to need to do a lot more research and reach out to various city departments. Some of the findings were that there could be a significant amount of money that's owed to the city, but that really needs to be refined by going through and talking to the departments and seeing what the leases actually say the city is entitled to and what percentages it's owed to the city. There's also talk about doing a barrel tax again. The city used to have a barrel tax, and it went away in...
Erica, I hate to interrupt, but could you just really quickly go back to that, the royalties page from the report?
Sure.
Right there. So, and you've shown me this before, I just want to... So this is the third party report. I just want colleagues to see this. So the third party report suggested that while we collected $390,000 that year, potentially there could be royalties owed to us for a like year up to $31 million.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of caveats to back away from that number, and we really need to refine it, but it is potential. That's the amount. It would change depending on how much the production was for each of the years, but it could be significant, even if it's 1% of that or 10% of that. It could be significant. So what we're doing is we really need, it's so far that's the total amount that's owned by that was produced by the operator, and so we need to figure out what percentage should go to the city. So some of it could, in fact, be, and I'll go back to the numbers, some of it could be that it depends on the leases, and so there, I didn't get into details, but there's these pooling and different types of agreements. So this study focused on mineral and surface rights, but there are at least 2 other types of rights that are ways that the city could be getting money from. So they're the pass-through rights and also the pooling and unitization agreements, and those get really complicated. So a lot of that needs to be worked out. And so we've started reaching out to some of the city departments. And so I actually had a meeting with the Port of Los Angeles already, and they've done some work on this. And so they were really interested in this. And they're the ones where the majority of the money is coming from. Of this 31 million, it looked like 24 of it's coming from the port. So they were interested to this. General Services Department also potentially we want to work with and find out some more of this to refine these numbers. but yeah, it could be a significant amount of money. And so we really want to chase this and figure out what's going on. Next steps basically go through and talk to all the departments and see, because as it is, the revenue doesn't come to my office, it goes directly to those departments. And so for some of it, they're getting money and they don't know why. And could be for pass-through rights. For example, if they have a parking lot, they just get revenue from it. It's like, oh, is this from filming revenue? Is it from things passing through? What is it? But they're just getting revenue. It's not necessarily being set into one pot that says this is from oil, gas, royalties. So it's really important to kind of figure that trail. Barrel tax is something that's upcoming. So there was a council motion recently on January 13th, and that's to look into the feasibility of that. That was recommended by the controller's report, but it's also something a motion that Paul Krikorian has put forward. Again, revenue is more important than ever. There was a barrel tax for many years, about 60 years. The city charged this. It went away in 1996, and to bring it back, the city can't just put that tax in. We need to actually take it to the public and have a ballot measure. In 2011, it was tried, but the amount was $1.44 per barrel, which was a very high amount. So it was rejected narrowly, but it was rejected. So neighboring jurisdictions, so for example, the county has 40 cents per barrel. So you can see $1.44 is much more than that. It's like $1.04 more. Long Beach, Santa Fe Springs, Seal Beach, and they go from 41 cents to 49 cents per barrel. And basically with the 40-cent barrel tax, it's about $8.7 million per year. And we're saying based on our production, which this was numbers prior to the pandemic when there were more cars driving and things, but the numbers are coming up. Basically, the city generates about 7,500 barrels per day of oil. So estimating that, it's about $1.4 million a year for a 50-cent barrel tax. So that's an idea. We're going to need to do a lot more research on that per the council file. But the idea is to have that research done in time for the November 2022 elections. And the other thing is that we've been looking for budget for doing some of our projects. And one other recommendation was that it would be nice if some of the budget that we generate could come to us instead of going to the general fund, because we're always begging for budget. Earlier this week, we say, oh, we'd like to abandon this pipeline and this one and that one. And then we're told no. And it's like, wait, we generate this revenue, but nothing comes to us. So it would be nice. We'll see what happens. Setbacks are a constant issue. There's a lot going on at the state level and in local districts related to setbacks. There was CalGIM is doing a lot of work on that, and other things through the governor's office. There is his executive order, and a lot of the items did relate to setbacks and things. In December, the city of Los Angeles did go through and accept the initial report that we did. It was a health setback report, but they went through and accepted it with some questions, and they actually went through and made recommendations. And this is all going preliminary right now, but basically they are making recommendations for planning as well as for several different agencies throughout the city. And one was to hire an expert to conduct an amortization study, develop zoning code changes, and declare oil and gas extraction as non-conforming use in all zones. We've personally been directed to report on health assessments that are available and to participate with California Air Resources Board on on SNAPs, again, the study of petroleum near neighborhoods, and a few other things, and to work on community emergency preparedness plans. So this motion is still making its way through various committees, and it may change accordingly. Eventually, we'll go back to City Council. One thing I mentioned earlier on was the Inglewood oil field. So here you can see where it is. There's it's right at the Kenneth Hahn Park. And so the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors has what's called a Community Standards District, and that's to establish additional regulations for oil and gas production activities. And for that, there is a seat on that board that is occupied by the City of Los Angeles, and I'm currently filling that seat. And so I take part of their monthly meetings, and they actually were doing a health study, as I mentioned, and then an environmental justice study. And so I was part of that process as we worked to do that. And they also are going to receive that SNAPS program that's done by the California Air Resources Board. And they're going to be, they're trying to coordinate their study with what's going on with SNAPS so that that data can be used in their health study. And what's important to note is that everyone asks about what's the incidence of cancer related to the oil field, and that's a question that the hoods keep coming up with is how do we understand the impacts of oil? Is it cancer related? Why does my neighbor have cancer? This person has cancer. That's the question that keeps coming up time and time again. And so that was a big question that we brought to everyone. And so this is a picture of all of us. And so it was actually a really well thought out process. And so what I participated in was what's called phase 2 or scoping. And the county had set aside about $90,000 for that process. And they hired 3 academic experts. One had worked with us on our own version of the health report, but they also used researchers at USC and someone else who has a huge body of work. And so everyone needed as a qualification to have some work in oil and gas related. And so they came up with recommendations, and they said, with the amount of population that you have, you can't really do cancer studies. The other thing about cancer is that you need to have 30 years of exposure prior to something developing, and you need to have lived in that location for a certain number of years, plus have control on diet, health, exercise, etc., to really determine that. So what was recommended is that there's going to be a birth outcome study. And so at last night's meeting, we presented the research, the recommendations made by the expert panel, and they're now going to move forward with phase 3. So their bids are actually going to out now this month. I believe they're next week in March, and then they're going to try and start that study in May 3rd.
It's a very pre-COVID picture.
Just right before pre-COVID, exactly. So So the last meeting was in January 2020, so right before everything happened. And yeah, you can see it's such a difference, the way the world's changed. They actually asked me to give an overview of environmental justice issues, and I was able to give a presentation on that. And I know time is short, so no one wants to see this, but I'll just go through quickly. You can kind of see an idea. But I also gave a little overview of the CalEnviroScreen process. And so basically environmental justice, everybody's aware of this, this is Black History Month and everything. But the idea is that basically people are treated fairly regardless of race, color, and national income. And people also have equal access to the decision-making process. And that's a big, important issue. And this reminds me of day 2 of Kwanzaa, Kujichagulia, which is about self-determination. You get to make your own choices for what you want for yourself and your community. I gave an overview of who Robert Bullitt was in the first case of eco-racism. And he was able to figure that out through his studies in the South, focusing especially on Texas. And through his studies, he was able to find out that even though there was about 25% of the people were African Americans or Black, all of these toxic waste sites of garbage dumps, garbage incinerators, and landfills were cited in them. And he was able to replicate this study time and time again, finding that all the time it was, unfortunately, the Black communities that were getting these environmental hazards. And again, people didn't have a seat at the table. They didn't have a choice in the matter. And he's published many books and really kicked off this movement. He was the one who really coined the term of environmental justice. Redlining in Los Angeles was another process that had a huge impact on environment and racism and all the issues, but it was basically done in 1933 with the New Deal, and it was a decision of where different investments would go. And you may have seen these maps. This came from KCT's study or series, Segregation in the City of Los Angeles. And this is kind of a map of Los Angeles from 1933. And basically green is the best color, blue is still desirable, yellow was in decline, and red was neighborhoods that were hazardous. And it was a homeowners loan corporation that came up with these ideas, but it was basically based on race, color, and ethnicity. And redline communities couldn't receive federally backed home loans, and property ownership was very difficult. And for example, they were rejected for insurance. So thinking about what that means, if there's a fire in your home, you can't repair it. Things like that. If you don't have insurance, if there's an earthquake, which happens all the time, all these things that lead to home decline, they just can't. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy almost of, if it's not allowed to have these funds, and then continues to not have these funds. Becomes a vicious cycle. And again, these communities didn't have the ability to self-determine. And when you look at these maps, it's really interesting to see. So for example, the green areas pretty much are still the good areas. Like this is where the homes are most expensive. The only thing that changed really is the beaches. And you can't see it here, but if you zoomed in, you would see that the beaches were poor because of all the oil fields that were on them. And so on these old maps in the 1930s, you can see where it says oil field, oil field, oil field on the west side. CalEnviroscreen, you probably all know what CalEnviroscreen is, but it's a tool used by the California Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment. And it's used as a tool to look at issues of health and socioeconomic factors. And it's a tool that's used to give grants to different communities. And what's striking to me is, again, this was focused on the Inglewood oil field, but you can see red are the highest scores or the worst numbers. And again, it's these same areas that were red back in 1930. So it's like these continue to be the areas that are impacted by this legacy. So you can see where this is really zoomed in. This is Kennethon Park. The black circle is around where the oil field is. And the areas to the east have the highest scores. And you can see in this map from 1930, it's the areas again to the east that have yellow, which is declining, and red, which are even worse scores. So it's a continued legacy that's to this day affecting things. And CalEnviroscreen 3.0 was done in 2018. So it's almost 90 years later, but you can see that still there's a huge impact from that. This is the other part of, so CalEnviroscreen looked at all these different things. So the next one is poverty, again, to the east side. That's where the higher poverty rates are. And the overall pollution burden kind of shifts around depending on the freeway corridors, but it is strongly correlated with those ancient, not really ancient, but those red line maps. Another thing is that we participate in it, the AB 617 process. And so last night at the CAR board meeting, had two meetings last night. One was the Inglewood oil field meeting, the other was the CAR board meeting. There were the chance for the third year of Assembly Bill 617, and that goal is to deal with air pollution impacts in environmental justice communities. I got involved because the area that's in this purple is an area that contains 3 drill sites, Jefferson, Murphy, and Allenco, in various council districts, and they are areas where people are very concerned about emissions. What this program has done in Wilmington, Carson, West Long Beach has been able to give a lot of monitoring for the areas and find leaks ahead of time prior to them being reported to the agencies. And so they've actually been able to be proactive in fixing some leaks. So I think that would be a benefit to the residents in these communities. So I've actually written letters of support, and so yes, I use your stationery on your behalf without your knowledge, but to greater benefit of the communities so that they were actually part of this. And so last night they did go ahead and move forward with 3 communities. But what a lot of commissioners said, our CAR board members said, and a lot of the public said, is that it's a terrible process because it's the poorest of the poor communities that are fighting for resources. And so for some areas they say, well, you know, I'm poor, I'm a person of color, I'm black, I've been ignored, I'm this and that, I'm exposed to pesticides. And so it's just a really hard process. That meeting ended at 9:45 last night. And it was just going back and it started, the item was supposed to start at 4 p.m. So it was hours and hours of testimony of people saying, I need to be included in this process. We need these resources. We're impacted. We're dying from this air pollution. You need to do more for us. So one issue that came up, and I don't know if you can tell from this picture, but there's a big purple circle and then there's a dotted line. So the issue that came up as a focus for Los Angeles is why is Watts not included? And as you can see, the eastern edge of that, Watts is not included. So there was a lot of concern from the community as they spoke on that. But what's interesting is that these iconic Watts towers, I didn't realize this, but I had seen this, but I think it was Chris Chavez of Communities for Better Environment said, you use these iconic Watts towers on your flyer, and then at the last minute, you cut Watts out of the process. And so there they are, the Watts towers. And so people said, how can you do that to the community? How can you trick us like this? What are you doing? So there's a lot of anger. Someone even said, you know, are you listening to us? Watts taught the community, we taught the world how to write 55 years ago. How can you ignore us? You know, so there are all these issues about, you know, disparity, race, etc. But there was a later clarification, and they said, well, the final boundary will actually be defined by the community steering committee once it's chosen. It can include Watts. This dotted line doesn't necessarily mean it will be the end of the things, but it sends a message. And so there was a lot of concern. So there were board members, one abstained. A lot of board members said, yes, we hear you, community. We really are taking note of what you're saying. We're writing down every word. We know there's a structural racism. We're trying to solve it. It's unfortunate there's only one program, and it's for the entire state. So we don't want you to feel like you're pitted against each other for scarce resources, but the reality is everyone is fighting for very small resources to get this air quality monitoring.
Erica, just quick top line summary because I don't want to hold this up, but so AB 617 basically tasked local jurisdictions with identifying basically intense EJ zones.
Yes, so basically the idea is to address air pollution impacts in environmental justice communities. So they look at the CalEnviro screen scores, they look at what are the pollution factors, they're looking at any type of health studies that we've done. So in Southern California, they look at MATES, which is multiple air toxics emissions study. So they're looking at all these different factors, and they divvied up to the local air districts to choose some of which communities are most impacted. It would be the Bay Area Air Quality Management District that works for Oakland and other areas, and there's another one in San Joaquin Valley. And so all these are working together. So there's the Salton Sea area, and so everyone's putting to their ideas of what they think are the most impacted communities.
And SCAQMD is making the determination for us.
Right. Yeah. They're putting forward. So year one was Wilmington, Carson, West Long Beach. Year two didn't include any ones in the LA area specifically. There was also Boyle Heights was included in year one. And year three now is South Los Angeles. And so people are saying with this purple area, it's going to be a big area if they choose that. And they say, well, if you have all the oil fields in the north, it might be hard to include Watts in the south. So that's all going to be worked out in the future. But they did go ahead and put forward the three that were nominated last night. But the issue is they put no more money. So the same money that was used last year, they're saying, okay, you're going to have 3 additional communities, but no more funds to do the work. So that's a big concern for people too. So that's why there was a lot of public comments and concerns.
So what's the upshot? Like what did these communities get long term?
So they're going to get studies. So they have what's called air monitoring plans as well as emissions reductions plans. So the emissions reduction plans are things we're going to do, working together with CARB and the AQMD. They've done things like truck stops. They're stopping diesel trucks from idling. They're doing these sweeps, as I mentioned, like on some of the oil processing things where they found leaks of natural gas, et cetera, emissions that they stopped faster than regular inspections would have caught. A lot of different types of things. And they also have these community air grants, and people can set up their own monitoring. So basically, they're going to set up monitoring by the community, working with the community, as well as having better ways of stopping emissions. Also, they're talking about filters in schools, a lot of different things like that. And so they said the idea, ultimately, some board members said the idea was they're not going to do every single community, but the idea is to have solutions that could be applied throughout the state. So, for example, one pesticide community solutions could potentially work in another pesticide community solutions.
Where's that money coming from?
It's coming from the state. So it's from the legislature.
Oh, so it's just general fund money?
Money that's been set aside, yeah. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no problem. No, happy to explain. But it is an issue of a scarcity of resources. Looking forward, we were hoping to bring the SoCalGas franchise valuation to you today, but it will be on Tuesday. And so that's to actually have a contractor on board to do the work that's needed to negotiate the franchise. We also have long-term pipeline franchise agreements. We have our 41 franchisees, and they're all older and need to be renewed. And so we need to go through that process and bring that to the city attorney. We've completed the study, and we have ways to modernize that. As I mentioned, some of the various council file report backs and coordinating with planning on any of the drill site compliance reviews, as well as reviewing any upcoming state legislation. There are a few bills that have been of note already. Some relate to fracking, some relate to setbacks, idle wells, as well as just transition. And working on things such as educational resources. So a lot of people have questions about leaks, odors, subsidence, fracking, et cetera. And this is just the training we have now. So just things like this, people see this and they get alarmed. So it's just knowing, what is this? What does this thing do? Oh, it's a pumping unit. Where does it connect to? So just getting some better understanding of what's out there. And I think that could be more helpful to people. So yeah, a lot of educational resources. Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One is the operation of the Petroleum Administration Office. We are down to, I think I heard you report earlier, 2 people.
That's correct.
So my question then, in terms of the operating of the office, do we have enough staffing in which to provide the services that are being requested from the various city offices and other external offices that we have to deal with? I
would say no, not at all. I think we're hurting very badly. Just for example, yesterday I was double booked, so I have 2 Zooms going at once trying to keep up with different meetings. It's impossible. It's like, like one meeting ended at 9:45 last night, and then it's too much. No, we're doing what we can. I think we're doing the best we can.
Yeah, I understand that, and I appreciate your answer there. Additionally, is there any alternative kind of plan that has been explored or has been discussed for us to not perhaps meet the capacity of the work being requested, but being able to at least provide a more significant service as oil administration for the city? Is there something that we have discussed with someone within the organization about how we can, during this temporary time? I do recognize that I don't know why all of your people left. I do realize that some of them left, and I am aware of our current administrative and financial condition. But I am concerned about any discussion we have had about being able to organize around meeting some of the services that are being requested of the office.
I believe we bring it up every time we go to various council members. There are a few council members who are requesting things on a regular basis, and we say we need more staff for this. So I know some of these council members are aware of this. It's been tough. I think at least the petroleum administrator position is moving forward with filling, so that'll be good. That would be 3 people instead of 2. That would be a big help. I think that there's more and more work that's going to be required as things come up. Some of these things, a big issue is a concern of the idle wells that are out there as more and more development is happening, be it homeless shelters or developments, etc. We're running into some of these older well fields. And so there are concerns about that and how to manage that issue. There are issues with health impacts. There are issues with the pipelines and doing abandonments. We are bringing up the issue as it comes forward.
Okay. So the other issues are in terms of establishing systems for accountability. Our system has not been fully developed in terms of our potential to have in place a system that will allow us to appropriately assess our oil footprint. Are we just exploring the possibilities of developing that? Because, of course, we need the revenues, and, of course, the potential revenues are there based upon the data we have. What are we doing in this area?
So we have worked, there's another council file I didn't mention that we worked on, and it's related to annual inspections. And so we are working with the city attorney to see what we can do. For a lot of that, we're preempted by the state, but we are working to see what type of certification system possibly we can come up with. So we're working with the city attorney on that for the specific drill sites. And Ted Jordan, feel free to chime in if you have anything to say about that.
No, I mean, we're looking at it. I think the reality is I think lots of folks have unrealistic expectations as to where our authority is versus authority of others. So we're just trying to, we want to avoid a misstep here.
Yeah, so we are looking to see what we can do. We're continuing to gather records, but that is something that we are looking at.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Good questions, and it is a practical reality that Erica is dealing with. I think, we are in the process still of interviewing candidates for the permanent petroleum administrator, petroleum administrator gig. We're not there yet. That'll be critical. So, Vice President Garcia, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but Erica, you did a very good job in summarizing basically a whole year worth of work and more in the history of that. So it's always very, and I also appreciate your presentation with your visuals, and just all of that was really well done. So thank you for that. No official questions.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Ms. Blyther. I think Dr. Davis asked them in terms of just staffing capacity. I will say that from what you presented before us today, I would have never guessed that you were down 2 staff, because it looks like you have been plugging along, keeping up with your workload and then some. And so I just really appreciate your leadership doing this additional work, of a team that would normally take on this workload for 4 people. So I think you haven't skipped a beat, even though I know you say it's really tough, but you're hanging in there. So I just wanted to really appreciate you and your team. And I think my second comment was really around what President Good touched on, right, is that there's a lot of opportunity in this office that hopefully will get fleshed out more as we have the new petroleum administrator. I think there's a lot of opportunity for how we can really supplement the city's budget with how we are collecting fees. And I know it's more complicated than that, and I'm simplifying right now, but there's a lot of opportunity here just based off of the slides that I saw, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you all continue to develop what is still a fairly new office to the city. So I know it's hard to believe that with all the work that you've done, but I think it's good to remind ourselves that you're all still fairly new again to reestablishing yourselves in this work. So thank you, Ms. Blyther.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. And Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. I really appreciate your report also. It was really comprehensive. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was excellent, Erica. Thank you. And you know,
I was so long at the end of the day. I apologize.
Well, that's how good it was. You kept us pretty wrapped with that. I'm always reminded with your reports of There Will Be Blood, which is a brilliant movie about oil in LA. It's sort of like Chinatown relative to oil. I strongly encourage all of you. In fact, I'm going to send you all a link. I don't think that's a violation of the Brown Act issue. Ted, am I good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. And we do have a lot of work to do. So it would be an understatement to say we're grateful for your work, which clearly has been prolific with a capital P and an exclamation point at the end. So thanks for that very much. If no one has any further questions, Dr. Campos, I think that clears a hefty deck. Yes?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
It's even with continuing a couple of items. Unless I have a healthy objection, I'm going to go ahead and cancel our management meeting for today. I have a feeling I will have no objections on that. But feel free to call me this weekend if you have any burning items that you need to discuss. Otherwise, having the decks cleared, thank you all for bringing it today. We had a lot, we covered a lot, and thank you for everything this week, and have safe and wonderful weekends. All right, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, bye.